All right, good afternoon, everybody. It's not even afternoon anymore. I'm just so used to saying that. Good evening, everyone. Welcome into this very special edition of Valley News Now. Tonight, we are on primary watch. The Minnesota primary taking place today, of course, as those of you across the river know, who I'm going to go ahead and assume you voted, are well aware. That's what's happening today. That's what we are tracking live for the next 3 hours here on Valley News Now. If you're not sick of me yet, let's hope that these vibes keep going by 10 p.m. or so. We'll see how long they last. I'm not alone in the studio this time. I have some assistants with me. I should put my own name up so people know who I am. There we go. That's the most important thing about all of this. I have some assistants with me in the studio this time. Let's take a look at Duke's very impressive workstation over there in Studio B. Duke Schindler in the Valley News Now Digital Content Center with me, live tracking election results. Duke, thank you very much. I appreciate your time in here. Duke will be coming over here or just hollering at me with updates as they come in. He is live tracking these numbers just as well as we are. Let's not waste much more time here. Let's go ahead and get our election ticker going. We, of course, do have about 52 minutes until polls close. So, hey, if you haven't gone out and vote yet, go ahead and get that done. I do want to mention as well, before we get going too much into this, I have live streams open on all of these monitors in front of me here. I have our TikTok live feed, which we've seen some comments on that we might have to address later. We have our Facebook live feed as well. However you want your voice to be heard, those are the best avenues to do it. Go ahead and let us know your thoughts on this current primary election. The things we're deciding today are both local and statewide. We'll start with the statewide things that have gotten obviously a good amount of attention. Mostly the Senate, the gubernatorial, I should say, and Senate primaries. DFL and GOP up on the governor primary side, and same with the U.S. Senate as well, trying to decide who's going to be going head-to-head in November. We're going to hear previews on both of those races here in just a little bit, so stay with us here. Let's go and talk about first what we're going to be covering from a more local perspective here from the Fargo-Moorhead area. Again, these are the races in our viewing area that we're going to be paying attention to throughout this live stream. And again, as results start coming in, just pay attention to that ticker on the bottom of your screen. It's going to tell you exactly what to look for. Again, it has every race in the state on there, so it might take a while to see what you're interested in, but just hang in there, folks. It'll come back around at some point. All right, let's take a look at the races that we're primarily focusing on here from a local perspective. We are going to start with U.S. House District 7. This is, of course, a big one, pretty much the entire west side of the state here, trying to decide who's going to go head-to-head with Michelle Fischbach in November. This is, of course, this race will decide the DFL nominee in that November election. Steve Carlson going up against Eric Osberg. Democrats choose a nominee to challenge Republican incumbent Michelle Fischbach in western Minnesota. Osberg is a Wadena economic development professional and has been endorsed by the DFL party. Carlson offering an alternative in that nomination fight. Another one that we're watching, this one very local as well, District 4A, the DFL primary there. Now, this one noteworthy mainly because of Shelley Carlson's inclusion. This is the Moorhead mayor now throwing her hat into this race for that District 4A DFL nomination. Again, it's Shelley Carlson going up against Erica Yoni. Carlson is Moorhead's mayor and, again, emphasized city government experience, infrastructure, public safety, and affordability. Yoni is a psychiatric nurse practitioner, and she is the DFL endorsed candidate. So a lot on the line in that race as well, wherever it may go. Again, the winner of this primary will go up against GOP candidate Andrew Rockhold in November. So again, that's what we're deciding today. These are the primary elections for what's going to happen in the main statewide election coming up in November. Some other ones we're looking at here at a more local level. This one is Minnesota House District 9B. This is the GOP primary. If I pull up the right one, there we go. I did have the right graphic going. This is the west central Minnesota area, parts of Otter Tail and Douglas counties. Tom Murphy and Craig Horlock are going head to head. Again, this district covering most of Otter Ottertail County and portions of Douglas County as well. Murphy is the incumbent Republican representative and an Ottertail County business owner. You all right over there? First technical issue of the stream. We're only 11 minutes in. That's not bad. I'll take that. Again, Murphy is the incumbent Republican representative there, and Ottertail County business owner. Horlocker challenging him in for this District 9B GOP nomination. Checking in now, this is District 8. Now, District 8 has, there is no lockdown candidate for either side of this, for DFL or GOP. We're going to start with the GOP side for this district here. Republican incumbent Pete Stauber faces a primary challenger. Democrats select his likely fall opponent. Stauber going head-to-head with Anthony Hamilton there. Meanwhile, we're going to check in on the DFL side for House District 8. It's a three-way competition there. John Munter, Luke Goldbranson, and Trina Swanson. Again, this is kind of reaching the fringe parts of our viewing area. The main area of this district is Duluth, but it does also cover Beltrami, Cass, Clearwater, Monoman counties, and other counties in that area. Let's look at a couple more races real quick before we get into the state Senate and state GOP races. We're going to go ahead and start with the GOP primary up in District 5, Northern Minnesota Republican nomination contest. Paul Utke, who I believe is the incumbent there, going head-to-head against Mike Weiner for that GOP nomination to decide who will have that election nomination for the GOP side coming up this fall. And then one last one we want to talk about here. I do want to mention what parts of our viewing area this race covers. This is for Wadena, Todd, Cass counties, Hubbard County, some area of Becker County as well. That's where that election will be decided. And then we have one more. This covers, again, fringe parts of our viewing area. This is more the Crow Wing County side of things. A GOP primary for House District 6B. Josh Heinzeman against Matthew Eric Zinda, both of GOP both fighting for that GOP nomination there. Now, as we go and get settled into this live stream, again, polls still have 45 minutes, so you still have time to get out there if you want to vote. I want to mention that I do have Facebook live feeds as well as our TikTok live stream is going as well. We've had some comments on there too, so make sure you have your voice heard. This is only as fun and interactive as the participation that we get from our viewers out there. So we want to hear from you. I should mention, hey, Duke, if you could do me a favor, I forgot to send out a push notification that this web stream is happening. So if you could do that, I'd appreciate it. Thanks, buddy. We're getting it done on the fly here, folks. Now, we actually have some stories that are going to cover the governor and the U.S. Senate races that are happening in Minnesota, of course, widely publicized for a lot of different reasons. We're going to start with I'm going to go ahead and call it the more tame of the two big statewide races, the U.S. Senate race, DFL side and the GOP side, both being decided through their primaries today. And we're going to go ahead and start with this. This is a preview from our friends at NBC covering who is running for this U.S. Senate spot and who you need to watch for in these upcoming results as polls get closer and closer to closing.
In the final days before the primary, the push for votes has intensified.
I think we put this Senate seat at risk if the lieutenant governor is our candidate in November.
Congresswoman Angie Craig is vying to be the DFL candidate for the U.S. Senate seat.
I'm certainly making the contrast that I'm the experienced person in Washington who has a track record already of taking on Donald Trump and getting bills passed that make a difference in Minnesotans' lives.
I'm betting on us.
Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan says she's the one who should represent the party in November.
I've got a long track record of working on behalf of Minnesota's children and families, leading the charge to increase the minimum wage and index it to inflation in this state, paid family and medical leave, and I'm fighting for the policies that I think Minnesotans really care about.
Fraud has been the center of conversation for months. Craig says the massive fraud that occurred under the Walz-Flanagan administration will hurt Democrats' chances of winning the seat if Flanagan is on the ballot.
We've also seen is that fraud is the most salient message when it is used against Lieutenant Governor Flanagan.
I think Republicans are running against every Democrat on this issue of fraud because, frankly, they don't have anything else.
Again, that story coming to us from NBC, one of our affiliates here at Valley News Live. So yeah, the U.S. Senate, the DFL side of that Senate race really coming down to Peggy Flanagan and Angie Craig for that open DFL seat. Craig bringing a congressional profile and some really strong fundraising into this race. Flanagan with support from former Senator Tina Smith, her endorsement there as well. We'll see which side comes out on top as we get closer and closer to the polls closing. Again, one big factor that they mentioned in that package, just how much is the fraud scandal going to weigh on voters' minds. Let us know how you feel about it. If that was a big factor for you in where you voted, let us know again in our Facebook comments or in our TikTok comments, wherever you want to comment on this live stream. We'll be able to view it there, and we can bring this conversation to both sides here. And then the GOP side of this Senate primary, it mostly comes down to Adam Schwarzer. There are some very interesting names, and Royce White. One of the big names that sticks out there is Michelle Tafoya, which a former sports broadcaster, very interesting name to find in a U.S. Senate race, especially in Minnesota. Schwarz, is the GOP-endorsed former Navy SEAL. Tafoya, former sports broadcaster. She did lead the way in fundraising for this GOP U.S. Senate primary. White was the 2024 GOP nominee for Minnesota's other Senate seat. We'll see who comes out on top in the Senate. Again, polls close in about 40 minutes here, and then we're going to have some results coming in. Now, that's the Senate side. Another one that has gotten pretty interesting, especially as the weeks have gotten closer and closer to this primary, is the GOP nomination. One side pretty much decided. The other side, quite the field there. But let's let our this story go ahead and tell that here. Let me find it. Here we go. GOP preview. This is the preview for the GOP nomination for this Minnesota governor primary.
After Governor Walz abandoned his bid for a third term,
and I'll let others worry about the election,
U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar cleared the Democratic field to run for governor in November.
And I am not afraid to take on the hard fights.
On Tuesday, she'll finally learn who she's fighting against. 3 Republicans are running for the right to face Klobuchar in a general election: House Speaker Lisa Demuth, businessman Kendall Qualls, and MyPillow founder Mike Lindell. Qualls won the state GOP's endorsement in May after earning the support of party activists at the convention.
If you think that we need radical change in our state, I'm your guy.
In an appearance this year on KARE 11 On the Record, Qualls pitched himself as the outsider candidate who can spur economic growth.
To help clean up St. Paul. That's number one. Clean up the fraud, clean up the mess. The taxes are out of control. But how do we get back to making sure that the state thrives economically?
Although Qualls won the state party endorsement, Speaker Demuth questioned the balloting process and got the party's blessing to compete in the primary.
The Demuth-Wilson ticket has just filed for the primary.
Demuth touts her experience as Speaker of the tied House the last 2 sessions, where she negotiated for GOP priorities like lowering car tab fees.
We need a culture shift in this state where there has been so much fraud, so much waste, so much pressure on businesses, on ag, on every level.
And then there is Mike Lindell, who proposes ending Minnesota's income tax.
Oh, you're going to go, wow, we can be the 10th state to be income tax free in the nation. This is what we need.
Lindell has the endorsement of President Trump, but faces active opposition from state GOP chair Alex Plekish, who has raised questions about Lindell's electability, delinquent property taxes, and even Lindell's residency.
This is all a tax by our own party, Alex Plekish, and it's disgusting.
A crowded field for that GOP nomination. And it's a very interesting grouping, especially when you consider just how much momentum Mike Lindell has gained since that endorsement from President Trump. And there's going to be a little bit of a split here in voters for Lisa Demuth and Kendall Qualls there. Qualls, again, has that party endorsement, but Demuth is the Minnesota House Speaker, good following for her as well. And then Mike Lindell, his following that he already had before getting into this governor race, and then along with an extra following that he got from the President Trump endorsement. we'll see which one's going to come out on top. Again, the winner of that matchup is going to advance to the November election, the DFL primary between Amy Klobuchar, Oli Savior, Kobe Lane, Mohammed Wazwaz, Thomas Evanstad, Po Vang, and Bill E. Gates Jr. But Klobuchar seems to be the heavy favorite coming out of that race. You never know what's going to happen. We'll keep these election results up, and we'll see what happens when those start to come in. But for right now, that's where things stand. Will it be Klobuchar versus the field for the GOP primary, or what's going to happen? So, all right, let's go ahead and we're going to get into more of the statewide races here. There's a few up for election. For in this primary election right now, Attorney General, Secretary of State, those kind of positions. But we're going to go ahead and shift gears a little bit here to talk about what voter turnout is looking like. Someone in our TikTok live stream mentioning Skilled Sleeper says that they voted at 7 a.m. today. That's not even the earliest voter turnouts. So early voting hitting a record number for a midterm election this year, and that's where we're going to find our very own Quinn Gorham. He joins us from our sister station, KTTC, out in Rochester, Minnesota, to talk to us about this record early voting turnout, to see where things stand as we, again, wait for these polls to close and await some election results.
Polls open at 7 a.m. for Minnesota's August primary on Tuesday, but early voting stole the show ahead of the big day as more than 206,000 early or mail-in ballots had been cast as of Monday morning.
That is the highest number of early votes for a primary election in a non-presidential election year in Minnesota.
Secretary Steve Simon says the unprecedented high mark is likely thanks to a number of, quote, hot races.
If there are contests that animate and excite people, that they're passionate about, and or that are very closely contested, they're very competitive, where the outcome isn't necessarily known, that tends to really drive turnouts.
That interest may not be limited to state voters either. Simon and other state leaders gave a briefing on Monday explaining that federal election monitors will be present at a handful of polling places in Ramsey and Hennepin counties on Tuesday.
The stated reason for these observers, and again, not a new thing, is to make sure that jurisdictions are complying with certain provisions of the Voting Rights Act related to voter resources in languages other than English.
But recent events in Minnesota, according to Simon, have spurred a public distrust of the federal government. Simon says the state attorney general will be deploying people to, quote, observe the observers.
I think there's well-earned skepticism about the federal government, particularly as to its activities in Minnesota, and I well understand everyday Minnesotans wanting to check on what they say.
State officials also reassuring the public that the state's elections remain safe and secure.
We are not aware of any overlap between that water-related cyber threat activity and our election systems. Nor are we aware of any other malicious cyber activity specifically targeting our election systems at this time.
Reporting in St. Paul, I'm Quinn Gorham.
Thank you for that, Quinn. And like I mentioned, the record number of early voter turnout it created an interesting situation in our local polling spots because there weren't, frankly, a lot of people out there as it got closer to the polls closing. But for the expert on that, we'll bring somebody who we actually sent out to talk about what the polls looked like when they were set to close fairly quickly here. Let's bring in Duke Schindler, who's joining us from his comfortable working space over at the back half of Studio B. Duke, if you want to go ahead and come in here, we'll fix the shot a little bit. Oh yeah, grab a chair. Why not? We'll get real comfy in here. We'll move the microphone right here. See, we're fancy folks. We got mobile microphones now. Duke, kind of what were your biggest takeaways? Obviously, you were at the Yumcomp Center, right?
Yes.
What were kind of your takeaways from out there? What was the crowd like? Obviously not too huge because everybody seemed to vote early this year. But what did you notice out there?
Despite everyone, or a lot of people voting early, there was still a pretty good turnout there. It was between about 4:15 and 5:15 where there was just steady after work traffic coming in, getting their votes in. And I was decently surprised considering how many of those early votes went in. And, these are... Can't beat around the bush. These are the primaries.
Right,
here.
Exactly. And I was going to bring that up. These are record numbers for a midterm election, not necessarily for an election overall. But for just you as a voter, with these primary elections, what's it like for you seeing those people come out there, knowing that it is in fact a primary? These aren't necessarily the main event everybody's waiting for. I feel like the governor race is going to help a lot with that, with how interesting it's been with its cast of characters there.
Yeah, and one way to really put it is one gentleman saw my setup that was there, and he, before walking into the polling place, he legitimately asked me, like, who's up for election at this point? And I was like, well, it was a pretty big one in the governor's race. Got a bunch of seats at the Senate, the House. I mean, it's a pretty decent ballot here, especially for primaries here. And there's some, big decisions that have to be made that's really going to domino effect into that November primary, which everyone's eyes are going to be on as soon as these things get done.
Well, I think this kind of helps things get ready for that quote unquote main event with the November primary. Kind of gets you used to it a little bit here, and it gets you used to some election coverage here. I appreciate you camping out in Studio B with me here for the next 2.5. Look, we're already half an hour in.
How about that?
This is cruising already.
Here we go.
But no, this is just the start of an interesting day, and so we'll see what happens. Polls still have about 33 minutes left. I don't know how many people are going to be running up to the Yumcomp Center trying to get in with 33 minutes left to vote. But
it did slow down a little bit there at the end, so you could kind of tell that after work kind of crew came in, did the voting stuff, and then got out of there. And then once, that last 5:30 live shot wrapped up, you could see things really slowing down there, just a couple cars coming in and out. But at one point, the parking lot was borderline full. So
awesome.
That's a good turnout, more than I would have expected.
Shout out to you guys for voting. We'll see what the turnout numbers look like as we get closer and closer to this election day being over. We'll see what happens. But Duke, thank you so much for making some time for me here to talk about your experience out there, and we'll get you back to your cushy workstation over here in the Digital Content Center.
Beautiful.
I keep messing up and calling it Studio B, not my fancy made-up name that I gave for it. Thank you very much, Duke. Appreciate your time, buddy. Again, if there's any kind of updates for anything happening, to run up here and tell me. Duke's going to be on top of things, as well as our newsroom. Our newsroom's going to be letting me know anything I may miss as well. But I don't just want to hear from them. I want to hear from you as well at home. We've seen some comments in the Facebook stream. Let's see what we can pull up here. Someone saying, basically just saying who people think that they should vote for, who people think other people should vote for, but running out of time for that. Again, only 32 minutes left for these polls to stay open. So we're going to go ahead and see where things go from there. Duke mentioned a lot of the races that are happening right now. I do want to mention one that we have a particularly local spotlight on. This one is very interesting. The U.S. House District 4A DFL primary. Again, the winner of this matchup will receive the DFL nod for the November elections between Shelley Carlson, who is the current mayor of Moorhead, against Erica Yoni, who is a psychiatric nurse practitioner and actually got the DFL endorsement for this spot. Now, the main interesting thing to me here is that we know that the mayor of Moorhead is seeking this House spot. We'll see if she gets it as the numbers start to come in when the polls close. But where does that leave the Moorhead mayor? The candidates are just kind of waiting for their turn at this election in November. And our Anna Ballweber had the exact same question. She went ahead and caught up with the candidates for the upcoming mayoral election in November and checked in with them during this primary to see what they want to see from this election. Again, I want to make it perfectly clear. Mayoral election is not happening until November, but we are going to go ahead and check in with the candidates as they await this primary to be over so they can begin campaigning for that mayoral race.
Today is Minnesota's primary, but you won't find the Moorhead mayor's race on the ballot. Even so, candidates are looking ahead to November 3rd, using primary day to watch turnout and listen to what people in Moorhead care about.
I wanted to see the process, how it's looking like, it's turning out, and I can only do that if I voted on the day.
Delray Williams was Moorhead's first woman elected mayor back in 2013. She says she's running again to be more active in the community and to keep Moorhead connected, from neighborhoods to downtown to local schools and businesses.
It doesn't matter what your politics or whatever. When you're neighbors, you can get to know each other, care for each other, that sort of thing.
Lisa Borgen, a current Moorhead City Council member, told me her focus is economic development. With a growing city, she says Moorhead needs additional places to gather while still building on recent upgrades like the new public library.
We have added about 500 units in the downtown area, living units. So we've got people living here, we've got people coming here to the library to play, and now we need places to eat.
She also says if elected, the transition from representing a single ward to serving the entire city would not be significant, because she already approaches her work with a citywide perspective.
But I think as council members, we all consider the entire city that we are representing. So I don't really think it's going to be that different.
Now, there is a third candidate. His name is Craig Whaley. I was unable to find a campaign page for him, and he did not respond to my request for interview. Both Williams and Morgan say campaigning isn't really going to hit full speed until after Labor Day. But they're using days like today to lay the groundwork and to make their case ahead of November 3rd.
Thank you, Anna, for that report. The mayoral candidates waiting for their turn now. But for now, it's time for the primary. I see a question in the TikTok live stream asking, what are we voting for? That's what I'm here for. I'm going to tell you right now. Let's go ahead and briefly recap some of the local elections, and then we'll go on. We'll do statewide first. All right, statewide elections coming up today. That polls close in 28 minutes. So if you're going to vote, you better hurry. Don't drive too fast. I'm not going to condone that, but get to the polls before they close. All right, so looking at the statewide races, let's go ahead and talk about the Senate race first. First of all is the DFL primary. The winner of that moves on to the November election as the DFL candidate for Senate, and there is a pretty clear favorite there. U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar, the dominant candidate in the DFL field, effectively beginning the broader campaign to succeed Tim Walz. That's her goal and the DFL goal as well. DFL primary, a little bit less competitive than the GOP contest. Larger story is going to be the coming general election, debate over the fraud oversight, immigration, public safety, taxes, and the direction of state government. All that fun stuff that everybody really likes to pay attention to. The GOP field, that's where things get pretty interesting. The marquee Republican nomination fight is between, here's the full list of candidates for that GOP nod. Lisa Damoth, Loner Blue, Kendall Qualls, John Kryn, Ross Nova, Raul Estrada, and Mike Lindell. You may know Mike Lindell as the CEO, former, I guess he stepped down very recently, former CEO of MyPillow. He got the nomination from President Trump for this. That has really kind of injected him into a bigger role for this fight for the GOP nod for governor. The name recognition there, as well as the Trump endorsement, has really put a lot of momentum behind Mike Lindell. He's going up against Lisa Demuth, who, again, she is has quite the following as well, the Minnesota House Speaker, but she doesn't have the party endorsement for the GOP side. That goes to Kendall Qualls, and so we'll see who's going to come out on top of that crowded field on the GOP side for the governor primary. For the DFL primary for the Senate, that comes down to, it's really a race between two front runners, Peggy Flanagan, former lieutenant governor under Tim Walz, and Angie Craig. We have some file video here, I think, but I'm not going to look for that awkwardly. I'm just going to go ahead and read you the information I have. Race, again, fundamentally between U.S. Representative Angie Craig and Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan for that open seat. Craig brings a congressional profile, really strong fundraising as well. Flanagan has progressive support and endorsement from former Senator Tina Smith. So the DFL primary, really a race between Peggy Flanagan and Angie Craig. Other nominees, other candidates include George Kalbrer, Peter Murgich, Kurt Anderson, and Billy Nord. We'll see who gets the DFL nod on the U.S. Senate side. And then on the GOP side of the U.S. Senate, it's really a race between, it's a really crowded field. I think it's 9 candidates for the GOP primary there. Adam Schwarzer, the GOP-endorsed former Navy SEAL. There's Michelle Tafoya, former sports broadcaster, leading the way. We've actually seen reports of Michelle Tafoya being the favorite for that spot. We'll see what happens. And then there's also Royce White, who is the 2024 GOP nominee for Minnesota's other Senate seat. So those are the big races that we're watching on the Minnesota side of things. Of course, when we're looking at people fighting for nominations for governor or Senate positions, those are probably going to dominate the headlines. Other spots up for grabs, Secretary of State Tad Jude and Wendy Phillips going head-to-head there. The winner faces Democratic incumbent Steve Simon in November. For Attorney General, candidates are Keith Ellison and David Maggott. Keith Ellison is the incumbent there, faces Consumer Protection Attorney David Maggott. And then lastly, on the national front, we had one more. Where'd that go? State Auditor. That one is on the list as well. Between Will Finn, Scott Jensen, and Nate George, the winner will face DFL-endorsed Zach Flipovich in November. All right, so those are the big statewide elections that we're watching here on the Minnesota side of things as we anxiously await results starting to come in. We have a live feed here. Let's see where this is, if it is live. It is live. Yeah, this is at, we have live feeds from our sister stations out in the Twin Cities. This appears to be at an Angie Craig watch party in the Twin Cities. That's one that we're going to be keeping an eye on for sure. Again, that's a race between Angie Craig and Peggy Flanagan, a hotly contested one on the DFL primary for that U.S. Senate position that will be up for grabs in November. Now, coming back here, let's go ahead and go over the local races that we're keeping an eye on. This is a big one. This is District 7. This is seeking the DFL nod for U.S. House District 7. And I really want to, let me see if I could find exactly what, I know what District 7 is. I want to make sure that's abundantly clear, but I want to show everybody just how big this district is and how much this election truly does matter here. We're going to pull up this U.S. congressional races. Here we go. Okay, I want to show this as an example for what exactly District 7 is for those that may not know. This is what District 7 is. Let's take this graphic down. This big yellow thing or big yellow area that covers pretty much the entire west side of Minnesota, that is currently a spot held by Michelle Fischbach. And what we're voting on today is the DFL primary to see who is going to go up against Fischbach for that open position. And we'll go ahead and pull up that graphic once more showing who these two are that are hoping to get that DFL nomination. It's Steve Carlson going head-to-head with Eric Osberg. Democrats choose a nominee to challenge Republican incumbent Michelle Fischbach in western Minnesota. Osberg is a Wadena economic development professional, and he's been endorsed by the DFL. Carlson offers an alternative in that nomination fight. Key themes for this include agriculture, trade and tariffs, rural health care, federal spending, and regional economic development. So that's a big one we're watching. Another one that we can get off of that map now. Another one that we've already talked about a few times in this is a very interesting race for this District 4A spot. This is, and I'll pull that one up too so we can see how big that is as well. If the site will let me. I don't know if it will. But no, District 4A, again, this covers Clay County, more or less, and it's between Shelley Carlson and Erica Yoni. Shelley Carlson, the mayor of Moorhead, now seeking this U.S. House spot, Minnesota House spot, not U.S. House. This Minnesota House spot, Carlson, Moorhead's mayor, emphasizes city government experience, infrastructure, public safety, and affordability. Yoni is a psychiatric nurse practitioner and the DFL-endorsed candidate, emphasizing healthcare, education, and affordability. Other ones that we're looking at here is the Minnesota House District 9B. There's two sides, this is the GOP primary here for West Central Minnesota, which includes parts of Otter Tail County and parts of Douglas County as well. This one between incumbent Tom Murphy and then Craig Horlocker there. Murphy is the incumbent Republican representative and an Otter Tail County business owner. Horlocker challenging him for that spot. We have one now that's being decided. Both primary spots are up for grabs right now. Let's take a look at the GOP side of it first. This is for U.S. House District 8. Now, this is relevant for the northern edge of our viewing area. Republican incumbent Pete Stauber faces a primary challenger, while Democrats will likely select his fall opponent. Again, the GOP side comes down to Pete Stauber and Anthony Hamilton right now, but looking at the DFL side, it's a little bit more crowded. We'll pull up the right one here. It's a three-person race. John Munter, Luke Gulbranson, and Trina Swanson fighting for that DFL nomination for U.S. House District 8. Another one we're watching is State Senate, so a couple State Senate races. We'll start with District 5. This one covers Wadena, Todd, Cass County, Hubbard, and some parts of Becker County as well. This is Paul Utke, who is the incumbent in this. Oh, that's the wrong race. There we go. Paul Utke, who's the incumbent in this race, going up against Mike Weiner for that GOP nomination. Again, winner goes into the GOP spot in the November election. And then the last one we're going to check on here is State House District 6B. This one is the GOP primary. Crow Wing County, so again, fringe parts of our viewing area, but part of it nonetheless. Josh Heinzelman and Matthew Zinda going head-to-head for that GOP nomination. Josh Heinzelman is the incumbent there. We are getting closer and closer to results starting to come in, hopefully. And as the polls get ready to close here in about 18 minutes, it doesn't seem like anything's been going too crazy out there in any polling locations or anything like that. We haven't heard any wild and crazy stories. I know when we had a previous live stream on this for the North Dakota side for the previous election, we had a very interesting situation with some polling places running out of ballots, leading to some delays there. And then also we had severe weather that day. I don't think that's going to be the case here, but if you are worried about severe weather, the VNL weather app is going to be the place to go. Like that, I had to get that plug in however I could. Let's take a look at what our election results tab looks like on valleynewslive.com for those of you that maybe don't want to hear me, just want to keep track on your website. But this is what our source is going to be when we start getting results here. This is all being fed in by the AP side of things. And again, we have every single race in this Minnesota primary listed on here, and there are a lot of them. Our main focuses are, of course, what we've gone over earlier in this stream, but if for anything you may be interested in, go ahead and check out the elections tab on our website, valleynewslive.com. They're also going to be scrolling on that ticker on the bottom of this stream whenever those results start to come in. We also have this site. This is very handy. This is the Secretary of State's website. And again, it's just very, very easy to use and handy for our purposes here. You can check out the districts and get the results right on the map here. Again, this is that District 7 spot that we were talking about. We know that Michelle Fischbach is going to be on the Republican side. Steve Carlson and Eric Osberg are going to be going for that DFL nomination for this massive district that covers up the entire west side of Minnesota there. Don't forget to sound off in the comments. We want to know who, you may not want to tell us who you're voting for. We respect that privacy. But if you want to tell us, we want to know who it is. We want to know kind of what your experience was voting this year. We had a record turnout for early voting this year for a midterm election. That's always good to hear when the turnout's that high. And then, we're going to go ahead and wait for results to come in here. Now, we have had quite the audience change, obviously, in the past 45 minutes we've been on the air here. So we're going to do a couple of quick recaps here to go over we have a couple of preview stories, I should say, from our NBC stations out in the Twin Cities. One talking about the DFL side of the Senate race and the other talking about the GOP side of the gubernatorial races, two of the more hotly contested races in this primary election. We're going to start on the Senate side of things. Again, if you've already seen this, don't worry, folks, it's a long stream. We're going to have quite a bit of time to go over some of the new info that we've been learning, but this is what we have so far. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. These are the two front runners in the DFL, the fight for the DFL nomination for U.S. Senate.
In the final days before the primary, the push for votes has intensified.
I think we put this Senate seat at risk if the lieutenant governor is our candidate in November.
Congresswoman Angie Craig is vying to be the DFL candidate for the U.S. Senate seat.
I'm certainly making the contrast that I'm the experienced person in Washington who has a track record already of taking on Donald Trump and getting bills passed that make a difference in Minnesotans' lives.
I'm betting on us.
Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan says she's the one who should represent the party in November.
I've got a long track record of working on behalf of Minnesota's children and families, leading the charge to increase the minimum wage and index it to inflation in this state, paid family and medical leave, and I'm fighting for the policies that I think Minnesotans really care about.
Fraud has been the center of conversation for months. Craig says the massive fraud that occurred under the Walz Flanagan administration will hurt Democrats' chances of winning the seat if Flanagan is on the ballot.
We've also seen is that fraud is the most salient message when it is used against Lieutenant Governor Flanagan.
I think Republicans are running against every Democrat on this issue of fraud because, frankly, they don't have anything else.
The two frontrunners there for that DFL nomination for U.S. Senate, Peggy Flanagan and Angie Craig. You're going to want to stay tuned here as the results start to come in. We'll see who does get that nomination to see who gets the DFL nod come November. Another race that has drawn a ton of eyes is the GOP primary for Minnesota governor as they look to go up against, we're going to go ahead and say, likely Amy Klobuchar. She is considered the heavy favorite by multiple sources for that DFL spot. The GOP race, certainly not as cut and dry as things are on the DFL side. We're going to go ahead and go to this story now on a preview of that GOP side of this year's primary.
After Governor Walz abandoned his bid for a third term,
and I'll let others worry about the election,
U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar cleared the Democratic field to run for governor in November.
And I am not afraid to take on the hard fights.
On Tuesday, she'll finally learn who she's fighting against. 3 Republicans are running for the right to face Klobuchar in a general election: House Speaker Lisa Demuth, businessman Kendall Qualls, and MyPillow founder Mike Lindell. Qualls won the state GOP's endorsement in May after earning the support of party activists at the convention.
If you think that we need radical change in our state, I'm your guy.
In an appearance this year on KARE 11 On the Record, Qualls pitched himself as the outsider candidate who can spur economic growth.
To help clean up St. Paul. That's number one. Clean up the fraud, clean up the mess. The taxes are out of control. But how do we get back to making sure that the state thrives economically?
Although Qualls won the state party endorsement, Speaker Demuth questioned the balloting process and got the party's blessing to compete in the primary.
The Demuth-Wilson ticket has just filed for the primary.
Demuth touts her experience as Speaker of the tied House the last 2 sessions, where she negotiated for GOP priorities like lowering car tab fees.
We need a culture shift in this state where there has been so much fraud, so much waste, so much pressure on businesses, on ag, on every level.
And then there is Mike Lindell, who proposes ending Minnesota's income tax.
Oh, you're going to go, wow, we can be the 10th state to be income tax free in the nation. This is what we need.
Lindell has the endorsement of President Trump, but faces active opposition from state GOP chair Alex Plekish, who has raised questions about Lindell's electability, delinquent property taxes, and even Lindell's residency.
This is all a tax by our own party, Alex Plekish, and it's disgusting.
Again, a hotly contested GOP side of that primary election. Again, if you want to let us know where you're leaning in that GOP primary, go ahead and let us know on our Facebook live stream. We're live streaming there, watching that chat for any comments, questions that may come in, anything that we want to know more information on, just let me know. Same with the TikTok side of things as well. We are watching and we want your voice to be heard just as much as we want you to hear our voices. We are getting closer and closer to polls closing now. Again, we've got about 10 minutes until polls close in Minnesota. You're probably not going to make it if you're still at home watching this, but if you think you could beat the polls closing, go ahead and try to get out there and get your vote in. But otherwise, your vote's probably already in, especially with the record voter turnout that we've seen this year for the early voting side of things. And when I say record, I mean record numbers for a midterm election. Maybe not for a November election necessarily, but still impressive numbers nonetheless. And that's where we're going to find our very own Quinn Gorham to talk to us a little bit more about these record-setting early voting numbers.
Polls open at 7 a.m. for Minnesota's August primary on Tuesday, but early voting stole the show ahead of the big day as more than 206,000 early or mail-in ballots had been cast as of Monday morning.
That is the highest number of early votes for a primary election in a non-presidential election year in Minnesota.
Secretary Steve Simon says the unprecedented high mark is likely thanks to a number of, quote, hot races.
If there are contests that animate and excite people, that they're passionate about, and or that are very closely contested, they're very competitive, where the outcome isn't necessarily known, that tends to really drive turnouts.
That interest may not be limited to state voters either. Simon and other state leaders gave a briefing on Monday explaining that federal election monitors will be present at a handful of polling places in Ramsey and Hennepin counties on Tuesday.
The stated reason for these observers, and again, not a new thing, is to make sure that jurisdictions are complying with certain provisions of the Voting Rights Act related to voter resources in languages other than English.
But recent events in Minnesota, according to Simon, have spurred a public distrust of the federal government. Simon says the state attorney general will be deploying people to, quote, observe the observers.
I think there's well-earned skepticism about the federal government, particularly as to its activities in Minnesota, and I well understand everyday Minnesotans wanting to check on what they say.
State officials also reassuring the public that the state's elections remain safe and secure.
We are not aware of any overlap between that water-related cyber threat activity
Secretary
and
Steve
our
Simon
election
says the
systems.
unprecedented high mark
Nor
is
are we
likely
aware of
linked
any
to a
other
number of,
malicious
quote,
cyber
hot
activity
races.
specifically targeting our election systems at this time.
Reporting in St. Paul, I'm Quinn Gorham.
Sorry for that weird audio issue, folks. I'm not sure what happened there, but hopefully it doesn't happen again. We do have a couple of live looks. Only one of them is actually live right now, but I'll show you guys what we're watching for from our one of our affiliate stations in NBC. This appears to be a feed from the Angie Craig event. She runs for that Senate seat there, or for the Senate nomination, I should say, for the DFL side of things. We'll see what happens as polls are closing in just minutes. Be sure to stay tuned. Now, one thing that was interesting in Quinn's package was him talking about the DOJ. Oh, we got a message from a Gina Johnson saying hi from Minnesota. Hello, Gina. Let's go ahead and check out or talk a little bit more about that aspect that Quinn briefly touched on in his story about the voter turnout. The U.S. Department of Justice monitoring polling sites in 2 Minnesota counties today during the state's primary election to ensure compliance with federal voting laws. You all right? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought you were that you came in looking. Oh, yeah. Look at that. That's why I kept Duke in the studio for this election, folks. He can deliver me water. And oh, Bobby, do you have something? Do you have anything? No. All right. We're gonna be getting some recurring guests in studio here to give us updates on the and another shout out from a Christina on our TikTok chat saying appreciate Valley News Live for their coverage tonight. We appreciate you watching. But yeah, no, we're continuing to follow things here. One thing I wanted to touch on. Did you have anything?
No results yet. I didn't
know. No results yet.
What, though, if a lot of people undecided.
Yeah. Yeah, come on in. Yeah, that's a very good story, Bobby. Good idea. Bobby Fallett from Valley News Live joining me now to talk about a story he had earlier this week, late last week? Which one was it?
Late last week, getting the results in last Friday that were kind of leading up to this, and just kind of what shows what we're seeing, the big U.S. Senate race, not just the DFL race between Angie Craig and Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, but also the GOP race between Michelle Tafoya and Royce White. What specifically the undecided voters? It was a small actually might be a little bit of a understatement, but just under 1,000 people who were really undecided when it came to this race, what exactly they were thinking. You know, they watched that forum at the Farm Fest on August 6th, and after that they took an extensive poll, Devin, just a survey of what exactly they liked, what they didn't like, and also the swing voter pilot kind of gave some results as to who was leading what after that, but also then if every single candidate went head to head, how would they fare? And right now, I mean, those results that we got are pretty substantial.
Yeah, definitely.
Right
Where did our undecided voter friends lean?
So right now, looking at it from a DFL primary, Angie Craig 59.7 to Peggy Flanagan 40.3. Looking at the GOP side, 66.6
Wow.
for Michelle Tafoya against 33.4% for Royce White. Now, this is where things kind of also get a little interesting when it comes to who had the strongest general election candidate. Angie Craig went up by 5 points. Again, this is from the swing voter pilot for these 967 undecided voters. So it obviously doesn't speak fully to the Minnesota general population a lot, but Peggy Flanagan went up 4.8 points. Michelle Tafoya dropped 5.9 points. 5.9 points, getting 43.7%, and then Royce White at 35.8%, but that was a 3.9 point drop off. So this is where things also get interesting, Devin. This was the general election matchups. Who would do well against what?
I want to show everybody your very fancy. He printed news graphics for a script. This is the professional stuff we get here at Valley News Live.
That's what we do. So, and looking at it, Devin, it is a little eye-opening right now. If you were to say which one of these races would be the very closest, it is if Peggy Flanagan went up against Michelle Tafoya. Flanagan leading by 8.4 points. You take a look at everything else. If it was Angie Craig against Royce White, Craig would have a 32.6 point lead. Flanagan would lead Royce White by 24.2%, and then Angie Craig would have a 17-point lead if she went up against Michelle Tafoya in the general. Again, though, this is not they wanted to make this very clear that this is not a projection leading into the general, but it is just from this poll, what exactly were these undecided voters thinking? They crunched all the numbers, and this is kind of what these numbers, at least between these undecided voters, would lead to up in this general.
What now? I know you went to this event was at Concordia here locally, right? It wasn't just our viewing area, obviously. That took place.
Yeah, so they had a small group. It was just only about 10 people, but the swing voter pilot, they sent this survey out to hundreds of people. Obviously, they got 967 back, and it just a lot of it was also just online as well. People could fill out the information if they did that for them. So, and then also looking at who exactly was leading their parties on specific issues. You look at the Democratic side; it's close in certain areas, but Angie Craig swept every single category, and we're talking about the farm economy, tariffs and trade, farm labor, immigration, the SNAP and Farm Bill, which has been a big talker for plenty of years, health insurance costs. You have solar farms and data centers, beef and grocery prices, which impacts the everyday person going to their stores, and then there was their closing statements as well. So maybe not that, I wouldn't call that one an issue necessarily, but everything else definitely is to the everyday person. And then Michelle Tafoya taking every single category except for farm economy and tariffs and trade. Royce White took that one by a solid 5 to 7 points.
Interesting. So to break it down, it kind of seems like if it was just up to the undecided voter to go out there, it would be Angie Craig versus Michelle Tafoya in the November election.
That would be the closest one that we would be looking at. But right now, it's kind of looking right now, Angie Craig against Tafoya, like actually you said. But then that matchup, Craig would lead by 17 points. It would be interesting if there is a Flanagan against Tafoya. That right there was the closest margin. Again, only 8.4 points. But from now until what happens, up until November, I mean, whoever gets these nominations, a lot of just going out there, showing face, doing what they can for everyone to, earn their vote.
I think this undecided voter aspect is a lot more, I don't want to say it's more valuable than like an actual wide poll, but like I think the vast majority of voters would be on the same, on the same wavelength as a group of undecided voters. Duke was asked who he should vote for when he was doing a live shot at the polling place earlier.
In a way, for certain races, that you are an undecided voter if you do ask yourself, oh, who should I vote for? And then you do the research, you listen to the candidates at certain forums, then you can hopefully narrow down your decision when you make it to the polls.
For a good chunk of people, it might just come down to name recognition. They know who Angie Craig is. They know who Michelle Tafoya is. Might not be for politics, but they know who Michelle Tafoya is. No, this is very interesting, Bobby. And if you have time before the election results start coming in, which polls are closed now, it's 8:01. We should be seeing results any second now. Hopefully. I say wishfully. But if you have some time before tuning back into this stream, go check out Bobby's story on this undecided voter project. Is that the right verbiage for it? Swing voter project. Yeah.
Story.
Something to that effect.
Yeah, and that has the full breakdown of everything that they went very, very extensively over the points, and they did also kind of emphasize that just not everyone that was taking a part of this, that was part of this undecided poll, was all watching this forum together at the same exact time.
That's helpful.
They were looking at different things at different times throughout the day, and just looking. Yeah, we got it pulled up right here.
Yeah, I wanted to pull this up. I'll put us in the full screen here next to this. I'll actually get us on here. Look at this fancy technology I have now.
Look at this.
There we go. But yeah, this was the data that Bobby was talking about. Craig and Tafoya, like Bobby said, leading their party matchups. This is data from a group of, you said about 1,000 people who were
a survey of 940. I might have been saying 967 before, but 947.
Yeah, undecided Minnesota swing voters who watch clips from the Farm Fest forums. This is for U.S. Senate. Again, this isn't, of course, any scientific data of who people are voting for and who's going to be leading the way, but it probably does give us a good indicator of where the average undecided voter may stand. And from what we saw with this group, it's Angie Craig on the DFL side and Michelle Tafoya on the GOP side. And so I think that's very valuable. I think that's a very valuable thing, and it's cool to see Minnesota kind of expanding on that. 3 of 4 candidates finished with positive favorability ratings among the swing voters. Craig with a plus 44 net favorability. Flanagan at plus 35, Tafoya at plus 23, and then that's unfortunate.
And that was actually one thing, Devin, speaking with some of the people at Concordia. If you watch the forum, you see Royce White was making his points across, but was doing it very loud and sometimes taking some jabs at the other side of the aisle, while other, if it was Angie Craig, Peggy Flanagan, Tafoya, they were kind of staying in their lane in a way and focusing on the issues.
Well, that was one thing that even the Farm Fest, when we were running that web stream back here, even the Farm Fest organizers were like, let's stay on topic here. Let's keep it respectful. So I love a good respectful debate. That's I love when that happens. Craig, again, the preferred candidate in all 8 Democratic issue comparisons. Bobby had this piece of paper here. I wish that we could put it full screen, but so one side is the Republican winner, and this is, on the issues are farm economy, tariffs and trade, farm labor and immigration, SNAP and Farm Bill, health insurance costs, solar farms and data centers, beef and grocery prices, and closing statements. There is the Republican winners, it's a diverse list. Mostly Michelle Tafoya, but there's some Royce White in there as well. The Democratic side.
Craig, and it is important to point out, though, Devin, where it's tariffs and trade, Craig led by 0.8%. For SNAP and Farm Bill, it was a 1.7% lead. So a lot of these, for those topics for the DFL side, was very close. But then, other than Royce White taking that farm economy by 5% and then 7% for tariffs and trade, it was really a landslide with Tafoya in every single other category.
Right. Oh, yeah, and those are big numbers too. That's a 76%, 77%. Wow, that is interesting. We did get a question in our TikTok chat here. Christina asking, this was based on undecided voters, though, correct? Correct. Yes. And only less than 1,000. It's not. This isn't. Again, I want to emphasize, not scientific data, but I do think it's a good kind of baseline for where an undecided voter may be.
And, also just want to point out that, just looking at it, they did similar research in Texas and Wisconsin. Looking at both of those states that they did, they reached over 1,000 people that were undecided. So this 947, it was the smallest amount that they had out of these 3 states. But they did choose these 3 states, Devin, because they do believe, just looking at the data, whoever takes this U.S. Senate could possibly definitely swing the favorability or just swing how things are when it comes to their state's Senate and just the power, the majority of Republicans or DFL having that majority in the Senate.
Gotcha. Well, thank you so much for bringing this in, Bobby. This is a very cool thing to dive into. I didn't even think about it.
Would you like to keep this?
It's good to have around. Why not? I mean, what are you going to do with it? So, thank you very much, Bobby. If you get any sort of updates back in the newsroom before Duke or I do, please feel free to let us know. But we'll be right here if you need anything. So, thank you, Bobby. Devin. Appreciate you, buddy. Very cool aspect of this election that Bobby Fallett brought to us now with the something that I had neglected in my brain for this web stream, where undecided voters stand, especially on the Senate side of things. This group of 1,000 undecided voters, for those of you that are just joining us, we got some data from what they chose, and the DFL primary for this group of undecided voters on the Senate side went to Angie Craig, the GOP primary overwhelmingly to Michelle Tafoya. So we will see how accurate these undecided voter results turn out to be as we get closer and closer to election results coming in. Polls closed 7 minutes ago. They should be coming out any time now. We'll see what happens here. We're going to go ahead and pull up the I want to show you guys one of our other sources here, just so everyone knows exactly where we're getting our stuff. Again, this is our own website, valleynewslive.com. All of these results being live fed from Minnesota for every single Senate, House, district race in the state that is being contested. We of course aren't showing uncontested races, but this is our results tab on valleynewslive.com. Go ahead and check that out. But also there is the Secretary of State website as well. Right now, of course, precincts reporting in the state 0% of 4,105, but the polls just closed 7 minutes ago. So we'll see what happens. I know when we did this for the Minnesota side, or the North Dakota side of things, I should say, we didn't get any results until we had roughly 5 minutes left on the web stream. So hopefully it's a different story here for the Minnesota side of things. We're getting some increased viewers here across our platforms. I want to remind everybody that we have our live feeds open on several different social media platforms, as well as our website, valleynewslive.com, and our news app, your smart TV, however you want to watch it. But the most interactive ways to watch us, and we've already had some interaction with people in these chats, are the Facebook live feed, which I have over here, and the TikTok live feed, which I have over here. Duke, if you want to go ahead and keep your eye on those as well, just pop into the Facebook live and see if I missed anything, any big questions or anything like that. But I should also show everybody who missed the beginning of the stream, I want to show everybody Duke Schindler's workplace setup again. He's being very helpful right now, and I decided to take care of him with his own little desk back here in the Digital Content Center, if I can get it to focus on him. There he is. Hold on, let's pull you up full screen. There's Duke Schindler joining us from our lofty accommodations in the Digital Content Center. Duke, thank you so much for sacrificing your night to come hang out with me. You could probably spy on his laptop there. Duke is live tracking. I can't get the camera to focus on you. Duke is live tracking election results, and he's going to have the latest for us as it comes in. We're not going to miss a single thing here throughout this live stream. So be sure to stay tuned. We also have our reporters and producers, anchors, everybody in the newsroom prepared to jump in here and tell us any updates that they get as they come in, some hotly contested races, which we will go over once again in a few. Now, I know for those of you that have been on this stream since the beginning, a lot of this is going to sound like repetitive info. Don't go anywhere because results could come in at any second. But I do want to go over the races that we are covering here at Valley News Live. One thing that I do want to mention is, I do also want to mention that we have a live feed here. Again, this is from our our affiliate station in the Twin Cities. This is a KARE 11 live feed of an Angie Craig event there. They're also going to be live in other places. They're obviously not only covering Angie Craig's watch party, but that's the only feed we have right now. As more come in, we'll be able to give you live looks from the cities as results start to come in for this race. Now let's go ahead and talk about the races that we are going to be covering here on Valley News Now. We're going to go ahead and start with a big one. This is for District 7. This is going to be deciding who goes up against Michelle Fischbach for this District 7 seat. This is to decide the DFL nominee Steve Carlson going up against Eric Osberg there. And for those of you that aren't aware what District 7 is, it pretty much represents the entire west side of Minnesota. So quite a big deal there. Again, the winner of this matchup between Osberg and Carlson goes head-to-head with Michelle Fischbach in November. I almost said Michelle Tafoya. That is for a different race entirely. Moving on to one that has garnered a lot of interest here locally, particularly for our friends right on the other side of the river in Moorhead, is the District 4A spot, which I keep putting the wrong paper away. Here we go. District 4A, the DFL nomination here. This one, again, Minnesota House District 4A. It's between Shelley Carlson, the current mayor of Moorhead, and Erica Yoni, who is a DFL-endorsed candidate and also a psychiatric nurse practitioner. That's one we're going to be watching quite a bit, and one that I'm sure our mayoral candidates who are getting ready for the November election are watching very closely as well, because that's going to be the next one that comes up in November, is going to be that mayor spot in Moorhead. So something to watch out for there. Checking in on District 9B for Minnesota House. This one matters quite a bit as well. West Central Minnesota, Otter Tail County, parts of Douglas County as well. Incumbent on the GOP side, Tom Murphy, going up against challenger Craig Horlocker. These two will meet the DFL nominee in November. The winner of this matchup will go into that November election under the DFL ticket. U.S. House District 8, they don't have, they have contests on both the DFL and the GOP sides. Really the only one in our viewing area that has that right now. Most sides have one side figured out. But for U.S. House District 8, it's Pete Stauber, the incumbent on the GOP side, going up against Anthony Hamilton. Stauber in... Oh, yep, I was reading the wrong note there. That's on me, folks. It's going to be a long stream. And then on the DFL side for U.S. House District 8, it's a three-way race. John Munter going up against Luke Gulbranson and Trina Swanson, all three of them looking for the DFL side of things. Moving on to the state senate now for District 5, this one covering Wadena, Todd County, Cass County, Hubbard County, and Becker County as well. The incumbent for the GOP side is Paul Utke. He's going up against Mike Weiner in that race. And then for State House District 6B, the GOP primary there. This is fringe parts of our viewing area. This is in Crow Wing County. Incumbent Republican Josh Heinzman going up against Matthew Zinda in the broader north central Minnesota region. So again, those are the our area races. We'll call them area races that we're watching here at Valley News Live. And then there's, of course, the statewide races, which we have covered extensively, but we'll go ahead and go over them very briefly again. U.S. Senate on the DFL side, the front runners are Peggy Flanagan and Angie Craig. On the GOP side, it's a little bit more contested. Michelle Tafoya garnering some heavy momentum going into this election day. Adam Schwartz is the GOP-endorsed former Navy SEAL, and then there's also Royce White, who was the 2024 GOP nominee for Minnesota's other Senate seat. On the governor election, the DFL side, that one is the heavy favorite there. It's Amy Klobuchar. She appears to be the heavy favorite going into that presumptive DFL nominee for the November election for the new governor of Minnesota, looking to take over for Tim Walz, who announced that he wouldn't be announcing a new term or wouldn't be seeking a new term earlier this year. The GOP side, much more competitive. That is a fight between the three real front runners for that are Lisa Demuth, Kendall Qualls, or Demuth, I should say, Kendall Qualls, and Mike Lindell. This is where it gets very interesting. Qualls actually got the party endorsement, but as we learned earlier in our stream, Demuth challenged that and was instead given permission to seek that seat as well. And then Mike Lindell, of course, has gained so much momentum, especially since he was endorsed by President Donald Trump for that GOP spot. I have Duke Schindler hanging out over here now. Duke, got an update for me?
Yeah, we got a little bit of an update. Nothing too, staggering here, but we just got some numbers here, something to get a little excited about. We do have just over 300 votes registered for that Governor DFL primary here. Amy Klobuchar currently...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, waxing the field right now, 98%. Of course, like I mentioned, this is extremely early, but we have some numbers for you. Figured we'd get them out to you. Kobe Lane, they're at 1%, along with a mix of others. So Amy Klobuchar off to a massively wide margin for a head start here. And then just around 500, 450 votes here for the Republican primary governor race. Interesting, you just mentioned kind of the big three in this race between Demuth, Lindell, and Qualls. Qualls getting that Endorsement, of course. Thank you very much.
Yep, gotcha.
But he's third amongst those three right now. It's not too much of a difference between him and Lindell right now, but currently, very early, like I said, but we have these numbers here. So Lisa Demuth is leading with 236 votes, Lindell with 145, and then Qualls with 125. So very interesting to see the endorsement kind of sit in third place right now. But like I said, we got all night to take a look at these numbers. Anything can swing at any time here, but
Very true.
Figured give you something to get excited
Yeah,
about.
hey, appreciate it. And we actually do have that info on our site right now. I'm going to go ahead and pull this up full. Duke, thank you so much for popping over here for that, because I would not have known without that. Again, these are very early numbers, like Duke mentioned. We'll look at the governor side of things first. I think that's actually the only one with, correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's the only one with any votes in right now. Yeah, correct. Okay. So on the governor side, we're starting to get results, starting to get interesting here, but again, very, very young in this process still. Right now, with I can actually count the votes cast. With 301 votes cast, or votes counted, I should say, Amy Klobuchar leading the Democratic primary. Wow, 98% of the way there so far. Again, very, very young in this race. I haven't even been showing you guys the results. That's on me. My fault, guys. Pulled up the wrong input there. But again, like I said, on the Democratic side, or the DFL side of this primary election right now, very few votes in. It's barely over 300 votes in, but 98% of those counted have belonged to Amy Klobuchar thus far. On the GOP side, a lot more votes in on that side, but it's a lot more competitive also, which we kind of knew was going to be the case coming into this. We knew that the GOP side was going to be a little bit more of a dogfight than what's going on the DFL side of this governor primary race. Lisa Demuth, currently leading the way, 236 votes of the few hundred cast so far. Mike Lindell and Kendall Qualls duking it out right behind her there, though. Lindell with about 20 votes ahead of Kendall Qualls. Again, still obviously quite early in this election. U.S. Senate has some results in too? Let's check it out. Very, very early. Let's see. According to our site, yep, here we go. Oh, wow. Okay. That's interesting. Looking at the U.S. Senate results starting to come into, again, very young in this process. The Democratic side of things, we knew that's going to be a dogfight between Angie Craig and Peggy Flanagan, and that's what it's looking like right now. Again, just a few hundred votes counted so far, but right now Angie Craig leading the way with 169 of those votes against Peggy Flanagan's 131. Again, that's for the Democratic side of this U.S. Senate primary competition. The the winner of this will get the DFL spot in the November election. And same thing on the GOP side. The winner of this will get the GOP nomination in the November election. And Michelle Tafoya leading the way there. Again, Michelle Tafoya, the former sports broadcaster who we've all probably seen on our TV a number of times. I can say for certain in my house. But Michelle Tafoya, we knew going into today that she had garnered quite a bit of momentum, but currently leading the way over Adam Schwartz, who, again, he's the GOP-endorsed former Navy SEAL, currently about 100 votes behind Michelle Tafoya. But again, everything is very, very early. We have a long way to go on this election night, where we should send out another notification letting people know that results are coming in, because otherwise, how will they know? Tell you folks what, I'm going to do that very briefly. I'm going to send out a notification to people to let them know that we're starting to get results here on our live stream. So bear with me for a moment while I type out this message. Stay tuned, everybody. But again, we're obviously still very, very, very early in this process. The polls just closed 20 minutes ago. Very few votes have been counted at this point, but we do have some preliminary signs of where things are starting to go. Wherever you found those numbers that you brought up to me first, those came in before they were on our election tab. So just a good note for you there in the future. Election results. Again, bear with me, folks. Sorry about this. You're all about to get a notification. Those of you watching know what this notification's for. You don't have to click the link if you're already watching. I want to hear your reactions too, folks, as we start to get some results in. I haven't checked our TikTok chat in a while. Let's see what's going on here. Asking what districts some areas are. We'll get into that as we get deeper into this race. But now with results coming in, we're probably going to stop kind of explaining where the districts are and hopefully be able to just focus on these results coming in. If you do have any questions, though, the Minnesota Secretary of State website, very handy for that kind of information. I got all of the information for these scripts today from there. So, yeah, be sure to utilize those resources if they're available, if I can't answer any of your questions. Results coming in. Hope you guys like typing sounds. So Senate and gubernatorial, we'll use fancy words. Okay, perfect. All right, so let's go ahead and look back at the results that we have so far. And again, I do just want to go ahead and emphasize, I can't emphasize enough just how early we are in this process and where things are at. Obviously, we're not getting huge percentages of voter numbers in or precincts reporting at this point, but we can go ahead and say where we're at so far. Thank you for saying that the typing sounded good. And then, yeah, we're going to go ahead and look at the election results that we have so far. These very, very, very preliminary numbers. Now, these are for our statewide elections. We'll start on the Senate side of things. Oh, it looks like Peggy Flanagan, again, we're now at over 1,000 votes on the DFL side of the Senate primary. On the DFL side, it's Angie Craig started off in the lead there. Peggy Flanagan has jumped back in front of, oh, what's going on our, I just want to show this really fast. Our feed in the cities is talking to Mike Lindell right now. Okay, they were chasing Mike Lindell with a camera. I was curious as to what was going on, but now they're interviewing him, and I don't want to pull that up with no sound. All right, let's go ahead and get into this. The Senate races here. Peggy Flanagan currently leading the way on the DFL side with just over 1,000 votes. Angie Craig behind her with 875. We knew it was going to be a fight between those two, and that's exactly what it looks like right now. Obviously, very early numbers, just under 2,000 votes reported so far, so nothing that we can really base info on as to who's going to win this election yet. We're not going to call this race. Adam Schwarz has kind of narrowed this early gap here that Michelle Tafoya built. Michelle Tafoya with a big lead to start things off on the GOP side of things. Tafoya still leading the way, though, 798 votes. Adam Schwarz with 502. Royce White also the only one of just three candidates with over 100 votes. He has 145. Let's go ahead and scroll up and look for, we got some more results coming in. These are for some other statewide spots. We'll look at these before we go up to the governor's side of things. The GOP primary for Secretary of State, this is a fight right now. Tad Jude with 249 votes, Wendy Phillips with 232, Keith Ellison leading the early goings on the Attorney General Democratic primary race, and Scott Jensen also with an early lead on the GOP primary race for the state auditor position. So for those of you who were very concerned about who was going to be named state auditor, that's a sign of where things are going right now. Now, the governor race, this is one that the Amy Klobuchar lead has just gotten bigger as other other races seem to kind of narrow down. This one is getting a little bit wider of a margin. Amy Klobuchar leading the way there so far. Not very many votes cast, just around 2,000, but votes counted with just over 2,000. But Amy Klobuchar leading the way with about 1,800 votes. Kobe Lane right behind her with 82. So there's quite a gap there on the Democratic side of this governor primary. On the GOP side, it's a fight between those three that we've been talking about this entire stream since we started at 7 o'clock. Lisa Demuth leading the way with 911 votes. Mike Lindell at second with 609. Kendall Qualls right behind him at 406. I believe that gap between Lindell and Qualls has gotten a little bit bigger. Lindell with 30% of the vote counted so far, and Qualls at 20. I think it was closer before, so it's gotten a little bit wider there for Lindell. My fact checker, Duke Schindler, has confirmed that, as usual, I am correct. We're going to go ahead and scrolling through the rest of the pages now. For the majority of the local elections, still nothing reported. Oh, that's not true. Okay, this is one that we were following quite closely here. U.S. House District 7, Eric Osberg and Steve Carlson matching up with that one so far. Around 230 or so votes cast, or 228 if you want to be very particular, but Osberg with a slim lead on that one right now. This one deciding the DFL candidate for this U.S. House District 7 spot. They will go up against Michelle Fischbach in November, whoever wins this election here. Another one that I wanted to check in on was District 4A, but it doesn't look like any other results are in at this time. So we are going to keep our eye on that page. You stay right here to Valley News Live. And yeah, hey, we got some active chat going on, especially on the TikTok side of things. So thank you guys for being involved in this. We want your voice to be heard just as much as you want to hear our voices. Let us know what you're watching for in this election. Let us know what you want to see. If you have any questions as well, feel free to ask, and we'll get to those as they become available. But for right now, we're just riding this early wave of election results right now. Let's take a look at what our sister stations or our affiliate stations in the Twin Cities are doing. We have two different views right now. This is One Care 11 feed. This is my live chat with Mike Lindell that they have right now. Mike Lindell off to, he's in second place right now with some very early votes. Hey, I might be mistaken on this, but I think the DFL governor race is over. It sure does look like it's being called. Let's pull this up. It sure does look like it's being called. Amy Klobuchar, Duke confirming. Amy Klobuchar already securing the DFL bid for the upcoming gubernatorial election in November. So for those of you who were curious as to, we had been reporting that Amy Klobuchar was the overwhelming favorite, and obviously we can't say that she's a guarantee to get this nomination, but for it to be called that early, already with 91% of the vote cast, yeah, it looks like Amy Klobuchar, the projected winner on the DFL side for this gubernatorial primary. We do have some more results coming in by the looks of things. Let's check in on the Senate spots again. Peggy Flanagan and Angie Craig still fighting for this top spot in the early goings on the DFL side for U.S. Senate on the DFL spot in this primary election. Peggy Flanagan with about 250-ish vote lead in the very early goings of this race. And speaking of early goings of the race, Michelle Tafoya leading the GOP side. She's the only one with over 1,000 votes counted in her direction so far. So we'll see where that goes on the GOP side of things for that U.S. Senate spot. Let's keep strolling around here. The GOP primary for auditor, Scott Jensen leading the way with that. Keith Ellison leading the early goings for the Democratic primary for Attorney General. Secretary of State, a dogfight between Tad Jude and Wendy Phillips. Tad leading the way by just a couple, by double-digit votes here. And again, I cannot emphasize enough just how early we are in this process. Let's check in on the governor's side, and this is the big headline of the day so far. I imagine Bobby Fallett's going to be knocking at this door in a minute to tell me that they have called the Democratic DFL side of this gubernatorial primary. But Amy Klobuchar jumping out to an early lead of the counted precincts, 91.3% of the votes. 1 second, folks. I'm going to turn down the microphone here to talk to my, what can I call you, assistant, helper, whatever you are, my reporter, Duke Schindler. Yeah. All right. Sorry, folks. We had to make sure we got some news out to the people here, as we now know that the DFL, we now know what many predicted, that Amy Klobuchar, this just updated votes in, 4% of the vote in on the DFL side, Amy Klobuchar with just about 30,000 votes. That just updated in real time as we were watching the tab. The next closest vote getter is Kobe Lane at 1,600. So quite the gap there. The DFL race for the gubernatorial primary has been called. Amy Klobuchar leading the way there. About 5% of the vote in on the GOP side of things for that same race. Lisa Demuth still leading the way, just over 12,000 votes there. Mike Lindell creeping up on 9,000 votes. Kendall Qualls at about 5,500. So that gap is getting wider too. We've been watching this gap in second place here between Mike Lindell and Kendall Qualls continue to grow. So pretty interesting here. Yes. Let's look at that as well. Duke letting me know. Yeah, Michelle Tafoya now with 55% of the vote on the GOP side of the U.S. Senate race. That's 5.7% of the vote. It's not a lot, but they called the DFL side with much less reporting. So we'll see what happens there. But Michelle Tafoya, the only person on this side so far, again, 5.7% of the vote has been counted. But Michelle Tafoya is the only person with over 15,000 there. So Michelle Tafoya with a big lead early over Adam Schwartz and Royce White. So, and then on the DFL side of things, we're not going to have a DFL nominee by the end of this live stream. Peggy Flanagan and Angie Craig continuing to duke it out for that DFL nomination there on the governor side of things. Peggy Flanagan with just under 19,000 votes, I should say. Angie Craig with just under 14,000 votes, 4% of that of those votes counted so far. Let's scroll up here. We've been looking at a lot of the statewide elections, but let's try to get a little bit more local. Let's see what we can get. I'm very curious about the District 4A vote. That nothing reported yet for Moorhead Mayor Shelley Carlson going up against Erica Yoni there. Let's check U.S. House District 7. That's another one that we were following quite closely here. Okay, yeah, this is for, again, this District 7 is pretty much the entire west side of Minnesota. Eric Osberg and Steve Carlson going at it there. The winner of that will get the DFL nomination to go up against Michelle Fischbach in November. Osberg with an early lead, but it's very, very close. 40 votes separate the two. And again, only a few hundred votes cast so far. Let's keep scrolling up here and see what we can find. We'll just look at the other U.S. House districts. Duke it out. You like that? They got my joke. But yeah, looking at some other U.S. House districts, I'm going to turn this down while I drink water so I don't put gross sound in anybody's ear. If you're listening to headphones, you're welcome. Okay, taking a look at the other districts around. Jake Johnson with an early lead in District 1. Brad Finstad with another early lead on the GOP side of District 1. The Democratic side of District 2 looks like a fight with Matt Little and Matthew Klein going at it there. A lot of votes counted for this District 3 GOP spot. 8% of the vote. Tyler Bass with over 2,100 votes in there. U.S. House District 5, the Democratic side, Ilhan Omar leading the way, only 2.9% of the vote in. 75% of those votes going to Ilhan Omar. Another one that a lot of people were watching was this Tom Emmer race here, District 6, the GOP side of things. 81% of the votes, 20% of the total votes counted so far. 81% of those so far going to Tom Emmer. And again, we talked about District 7 quite extensively here. District 8 was another one that affected some parts of our viewing area. Pete Stauber leading the way there with, again, just over 200 votes counted. Pete Stauber has 186 of those votes. And then, yeah, that's where things are at so far. We're going to take another look at the statewide races here momentarily. We do have another video feed that we could show people. Again, we have access to Carol Levin's live feed, our NBC station in the Twin Cities. They've been at Angie Craig's event, but this one now at Amy Klobuchar's event. We should probably expect to hear from her soon with them already calling it. As soon as they do go to Amy Klobuchar, we will take that feed live, and then, we'll go from there. And then, of course, the GOP side still a fight right now. No more votes casted since the last time we took a look. And so we'll continue to watch that and report from there. But yeah, again, if you have any questions or comments that you want to leave, let me know, and we will go ahead and get to those. Right now, we're at a little bit of a standstill since the results started coming in. We are the most votes I've seen for any particular race is 20% of the votes counted. But doing a quick scroll through our elections page, the only race I'm seeing called is still the DFL side of the gubernatorial primary. Amy Klobuchar already winning that. We have some file video of Amy Klobuchar I could put up so you guys don't just have to stare at my face this whole time. Amy Klobuchar already winning the Democratic nomination for November. Now she will go up against the winner of the GOP primary in that November election. Klobuchar, again, only 4.2% of the votes counted, and they called the race sooner than that. She's the only person in the tens of thousands votes counted so far. She's at right about 30,000 votes. The next highest vote getter right now on the Democratic side of that gubernatorial primary is Kobe Lane at just under 1,700 votes. So quite the wide berth between Amy Klobuchar and the field on that DFL side. And we had reported going into this that Amy Klobuchar was the favorite going into it, but to see it called that early, it's indicative of what we had heard going into today. Now, on the GOP side, I'll go ahead and pull our elections tab up so we can see what the data looks like. The GOP side of things, still obviously very early. I can't emphasize that enough. 5.8% of the votes in. Lisa Demuth leading the way with about 45% of those votes. Mike Lindell behind her with 32%, and then Kendall Qualls behind him at 20%. Lisa Demuth, the first one to hit tens of thousands of votes in that GOP primary nomination. Now, I see one question, or someone in our TikTok chat saying that they were only showing 4% of the votes in. They're able to call races if it's they are able to call races that early if the vote count is substantial enough, and that appears to be the case for Amy Klobuchar. There are, of course, early voting factors in too. I'm not sure when those will be counted. I can look and find more information on that, but a lot of factors going into this one. Let's take a look at some of the district races so far. Again, Tom Emmer leading the way in District 6 by over 10,000 votes, 20% of the vote in on that side. Ilhan Omar leading the way in District 5 with 75% of that vote, but again, 3% of the total votes counted thus far. For races that affect our viewing area, District 7, that's the one that we were talking about going into this race, and then there's Eric Osberg leading the way, but they haven't even put a percentage on the votes counted so far, so it's still entirely too early to determine anything. Same with this District 8 spot with Pete Stauber leading the way, only 400 votes counted on that side so far. So we'll see what happens as these numbers continue to grow, but this is where we are right now. Scrolling down, as you can see, a lot of 0% reporting so far. State House, District 39B, that is not in our viewing area. Apologies for anybody watching this live stream in District 39B, but we're going to move on. Again, yeah, the only race called thus far is the DFL side of the Minnesota primary. Let's see if results have been updated for the Senate seat. Oh, I do want to. Oh, it looks like Amy Klobuchar is taking the stage at her event. We're going to take this live. We'll be right back, folks.
Wow. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ben. We're so proud of our future Lieutenant Governor, the former mayor of Fergus Falls, who knows what it takes to lead in rural Minnesota. He knows what it takes to raise a family in a small town. Tessa's right over there, thank you. And he knows what it takes to run a small business. So also here with me is my husband, John, right over here. And so many leaders. In addition to Kelly, Betty McCullum just walked in. More than crossed the river and came over here to the 3rd District. I know that Leader Aaron Murphy is here and Leader Zach Stevenson is here. Richard Karlblom is here. So many legislators, local officials, thank you. And thank you to Joe and our team. They're fantastic. And to the voters who are showing up in big numbers this year, thank you for putting your trust in me to be the next governor of the state of Minnesota. In Minnesota, trust is not given, it's earned. That trust comes with an expectation, which is results. Results that you can see and feel in your life. Results in making life more affordable, making our government work, and getting rid of the fraud. Results in expanding our economy with a growth agenda. Results that will transform our government. And yes, I will be a transformative governor. You expect leaders to deliver results, not excuses. And you are rightfully tired of this partisan theater and the punchlines. I will deliver those results. I've done it as senator, and I will do it as your governor. Now, we know we have headwinds coming at us every single day. Trump's tariffs eating away at people's paychecks, the massive cuts to health care, the mess in Washington. Those headwinds may well be a constant, but they can never be an excuse. We need a governor who is going to put Minnesotans first and not be a rubber stamp of Donald Trump. I am running for the people of Minnesota, and I'm going to govern for the people of Minnesota. While the Republicans are still deciding their nominee, it has appeared for a while that this race has come down to 2 candidates. Mike Lindell, as you know, is Donald Trump's guy. he got Trump's complete and total endorsement. Mike Lindell may be Donald Trump's choice, but I want to be Minnesota's choice. And Lisa Dameth, you may have seen her advertisements recently, lots of them. Well, most of those ads are paid for by one person, one man, one billionaire who doesn't even live in Minnesota, a Wisconsin billionaire who is one of Donald Trump's biggest donors. He has spent $3 million already flooding our state for her. And who does this guy want? He wants her in the governor's office. And while she may be this Wisconsin billionaire's choice, I want to be Minnesota's choice for governor. When my opponents were asked to name one place where they disagreed with Donald Trump, they couldn't do it. They won't speak out against the tariffs that are raising everyone's costs. They won't speak out against the Medicaid cuts that are hitting our hospitals, particularly in the rural areas. They won't support extending the health insurance premium tax credits that Donald Trump let expire. They won't speak out against the war in Iran, which is costing us in lives, in treasure, and yes, in costs. And Trump keeps telling us it will end. So I voted, along with Tina, to end Trump's war. I put my name on that vote. But my opponents can't even find the courage to stand up to the president and say this is wrong, and this has to stop. I plan to do, and I pledge to do, my job without fear or favor. I will be fearless for Minnesota. I will stand my ground for Minnesota, and I will be accountable to Minnesota. I'm going to be focused on you. I'm focused on lowering your health care costs, on making sure you can buy a home, and on making it easier to start a business or raise a family, on making your government work for you. And I will measure our success as a state, not in that political theater. I will measure our success as a state by results. My goal is to keep what's right and fix what's wrong. That's why I'll launch on day one a top-to-bottom audit of state government to root out the waste and the abuse and the fraud, to cut red tape so we can build 100,000 more homes. So we can get student achievement up and screen time in the classroom down. So we can double the number of apprenticeships in healthcare and manufacturing and construction and more, and take on rising costs by reducing healthcare premiums. As your governor, I'll create a state tax credit for healthcare premiums if Washington won't act. 10 states have already run tax credits like this. New Mexico acted last year, and as a result, it was the only state where more people got covered through the marketplace instead of people losing their coverage. After tonight, Minnesotans are going to be presented with a choice. It's a choice about the future of our state. If my opponents want to devote their energy to attacks instead of solutions, let them. If they want to avoid making tough calls because the president might not like what they say, let them. That's not what I'm going to do. Earlier this year, I met with a 14-year-old girl who was part of a middle school class from St. Paul who came to visit our office. And it was right after it had been announced that Minnesota was getting the Profile and Courage Award, the John F. Kennedy Profile and Courage Award. And I said to her, you know, that Profile and Courage Award, that didn't go to an elected official. It went to the people. And then she stood as tall, as short as she was, as tall as she could, this little 14-year-old girl, and she said, now I know, she said, that award went to me. that award went to me. She wasn't just proud of our state and how her people had marched 50,000 strong in 10 below zero weather and brought food to strangers and kids to school. She saw that it makes a difference when people stand up. She saw that if we want to see change in the world, we have to be ready to make it happen ourselves. You see, if you want to see that change, we truly have to do it ourselves. So tonight, we are here standing up. Democrats, independents, and yes, some Republicans, ready to make that change. For the people who work in the kitchens and the firehouses, on farms and factory floors, in classrooms and emergency rooms. We are standing up for every parent who wants a better world for their kids, for everyone who understands that immigrants don't diminish America, they are America. For the young, for the young people trying to pay their bills, find a good job, or buy their first home. For the seniors who deserve a dignified and affordable retirement after a lifetime of hard work. For the union members who are out there leading the way for our workers. For the farmers fueling our nation and keeping our rural economy strong. For the businesses, entrepreneurs, and innovators changing the world every day. For those builders and workers who show up on the job with resilience and understand, like I do, that when unions are strong, our economy is strong, and when our economy is strong, America is strong. And to the independents and moderate Republicans who didn't vote for those high costs, for the chaos, and for the corruption that we're seeing coming out of Donald Trump's White House, they didn't vote for the fraud. And I want to tell them right now, I will be the governor for you. To the people of Minnesota, I say this: I'm not afraid to take on the hard fights, especially when those fights are for you, and I have a record of winning hard fights. My colleague Tina Smith said to me once that patience is a virtue, but it's a virtue I don't have. So when prescription drugs are through the roof and people are rationing their insulin, we don't wait, we change it. When it takes too long to build a house and landlords are using algorithms to drive up rental prices, we don't wait, we change it. And when Donald Trump raises health care costs and threatens our democracy, we don't wait, we win an election. Minnesota, I don't like the status quo. The status quo doesn't bring down costs, it doesn't build homes, it doesn't create jobs, but we can. Our state built this nation. We do big things. We brought the world everything from the pacemaker to the Post-it note, but we will not rest on our laurels. You all know my story. My grandpa worked 1,500 feet underground in the mines up in Ely. He saved money in a coffee can in the basement so that my dad could go to a 2-year community college. My dad went on from that hardscrabble mining town to be a beloved journalist covering the Vikings. And I know they made a quarterback announcement today. That's too controversial to debate. My mom, a proud union member, was a teacher, and she taught 2nd grade until she was 70 years old. I still have people come up to me on the street and tell me that she was their favorite teacher. So I stand before you today as the granddaughter of an iron ore miner who never got to graduate from high school, as the daughter of a teacher and a newspaper man, and as the first woman elected to the United States Senate from the state of Minnesota. And with your support, the first woman elected to the governor of Minnesota. Our past has made us who we are, but our future is up to us. I want to build that future together. Tonight, I'm asking you not to look away, but to look at each other. I'm asking you not to look down, but to look up to the North Star and be stewards of good. To pursue good, we must believe that good will prevail. I believe that good will prevail. I believe in our future. I believe in Minnesota, and I know you do too. So let's get to work, let's get this done, and let's win this election. Thank you, everyone.
That is Amy Klobuchar speaking. She just got done. She was the first person to be named the presumed winner of their race. She seemingly getting the DFL nod for the governor spot in this primary election, but we have some news that came in as Amy Klobuchar was talking. Another race has been called. Let me pull up the correct input here so everybody can see it. There it is, as you can see on your screen right now, folks. Yep, there it is. Michelle Tafoya winning the GOP nomination for U.S. Senate with 50.6% of the votes in, an estimated 15%, 14.9% of that vote called for the GOP Senate spot in this primary election. That one being called at about 11% of the vote there. Michelle Tafoya, the former sports broadcaster, winning the GOP nomination for U.S. Senate. She will now go head-to-head against either what appears to be either Peggy Flanagan or Angie Craig, which that race keeps getting closer and closer. So there are three races called at the statewide level so far. Amy Klobuchar winning the Democratic primary for the governor position, Keith Ellison winning the Democratic primary for the Attorney General position, and then the GOP primary for U.S. Senate going to Michelle Tafoya. Our news team is working on getting something posted about that as we speak, so be sure to stay tuned, folks. It is getting results are starting to come in very quickly here. And speaking of very quickly, both of those races being called fast as well. For U.S. Senate, again, for this GOP spot for Michelle Tafoya, it was called after, what was it, 11% of the vote was counted in. And then it was a similar situation for Amy Klobuchar. As you can see, 12% of the vote in right now. She still has 86% of those votes. So we are going to keep watching for our watch parties kind of across the Twin Cities. Our NBC station in the Twin Cities, KARE 11, they're providing us some live feeds, which is where we just saw Amy Klobuchar's speech after winning the Democratic primary for the governor position. And then, yeah, we will continue to watch those for more updates there. Looking at the rest, one of the few other called races is the District 6 GOP nomination. Tom Emmer winning that with 81% of the votes counted so far. 27% of the votes are in. Tom Emmer dominating that race there for the GOP nod in District 6. Let's keep scrolling up here. We were watching District 7 before things, and still only 1.7% of that vote in. Eric Osberg leading the way with 64% of those votes, but again, only 1.7% of the total vote in so far. Another one we were watching was District 8. There was the GOP and there we go. The GOP and the Democratic primaries both happening on that. Trina Swanson currently leading the way on the Democratic side. Again, District 8, for those of you that may not be aware, is the kind of the northern edge of our viewing area. Parts of our areas in Beltrami County, Cass County, Clearwater County, Monoman County, in that region. Trina Swanson again leading the way right now with 76% of that vote. And then on the GOP side for District 8, Pete Stauber, 88% of that vote so far. Just, again, about 2,000 votes less than 2,000 votes counted on there so far. So, Election Day, folks. Getting excited. Oh, another one called. Brad Feinstead. I hope I pronounced that right. Not in our viewing area, but we'll see. Yep, we just got a release from Michelle Tafoya. I imagine Bobby will be coming in here to tell us if she has a statement. But again, for those of you that are just joining, Michelle Tafoya winning the GOP primary for U.S. Senate. 50% of the vote going to Michelle Tafoya. A crowded field, too, on the GOP side of that Senate race. 14% of the votes in so far. 50.6% of that going to Michelle Tafoya, the former sports broadcaster, now a GOP candidate. They will be on your ballots in November, assuming, these are projected winners. I have to put that caveat on everything. Right now, these are just projected winners, but mathematically speaking, Michelle Tafoya is going to be on your ballots in November. Let's take a look at this matchup here, and this one's going to be close. We might not be able to leave here for quite some time tonight. U.S. Senate on the DFL side of things between Peggy Flanagan and Angie Craig. Peggy Flanagan leading the way, and that's Peggy Flanagan with just over 61,000 votes. Angie Craig with just over 53,000. 15% of those votes in for that DFL primary for the U.S. Senate. We'll see who's the last woman standing between those two, Peggy Flanagan and Angie Craig, duking it out there. Duke really likes when I say duking it out. Checking in on the GOP primary, Lisa Demuth still leading the way. Mike Lindell still in second. Kendall Qualls behind them with just over 16,000 votes. 17.5% of that. We might have the two sides of the GOP primary figured out here. We already have one side, of course, Amy Klobuchar with a dominant win on the Democratic side. The DFL primary, winning that she's the only person with over 100,000 votes with 14.9% in. Bobby Fallett joining us in the Digital Content Center now. Bobby, you got something for me? Come on in, pal. Oh.
Well, as we just
that sounded somber when you came in there. Are you okay? Yeah, there you go.
Don't want to raise my voice too much.
Right.
I don't know how.
It's a long night. You got to anchor shows tonight.
Yeah, still do. But Devin, as I'm sure you just kind of mentioned, Tafoya winning the Republican primary. Obviously, I think their team, they were ready to push this out. They couldn't wait until it has to call. But pretty much just saying Tafoya won the Republican primary, saying that, in her winning speech here, Minnesota's going 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction of years of single-party rule, saying that, her and her husband feel loved here. They raised their family here, built their lives here, and they're not going to sit by and let the state that they call home become a, quote, laughing stock. So they went on to say that Minnesotans across the political spectrum are done accepting it. Again, this is coming from her team. And it's not about red versus blue, but it's about common sense versus crazy. They don't want to reelect politicians who will let criminals steal billions and treat accountability as optional. They're saying that the state deserves better. So now Tafoya, we're still waiting for that the DFL, with what's going to be happening with that Senate seat right there. Either she's going to go against Congresswoman Angie Craig or Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan. Don't believe that race has been called yet.
No,
this is still very close. Too close to call.
Bobby and I are looking at this on my monitor right here. 15% of the votes in that DFL primary for U.S. Senate. Peggy Flanagan with 51% of the vote. Angie Craig with 44%. Obviously, still too close to call. We'll see what happens there. It looks like your swing voters may have been an indication of where things are going.
Possibly, and
they called Tafoya.
Yeah, and looking at that race, if it is Flanagan against Tafoya, this was going to be the race within 10 points. We'll have to see. This would definitely be a very, very close one then for the general coming up in November, if that is the case, if it is these two.
We also just got a statement from Adam Schwarz, who, again, he got the party endorsement and is a former Navy SEAL. So we got a statement from him as well. We're going to have all of these on our website, valleynewslive.com. Be sure to stay tuned there. But again, as Bobby was coming in, Michelle Tafoya winning the GOP primary and not slowing down with the fired up speeches after winning there.
Yeah,
so
and absolutely. And just looking at Schwarz's quick press release out here, just the statement on those primary results, saying that he got into this fight because he loves our country, and pretty much said a big thank you to the 7,000 donors and the precinct captains in all 87 counties, everyone who shows up, and just saying thank you.
Nice. Well, okay, there we go. Adam Schwartz with a what's the word I'm thinking of here?
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
It's not the word I was thinking of, but we'll rock with that. All right, thank you so much for that, Bobby.
Yes.
Again,
Thank you,
Bobby in our newsroom pulling a ton of weight right now, getting all of this stuff on our website, valleynewslive.com. Make sure you go check that out as the results keep coming in. We finally got something for District 4A. We're going to go ahead and pull this up here. This is one we've been following quite closely. 5% of the votes in. Erica Yoni, who did have the DFL nomination for this District 4A, if my monitor, there we go, that was weird, for this District 4A spot. Erica Yoni, again, had the endorsement there. Shelley Carlson, the mayor of Moorhead. Yoni leading the way with 73% of the votes so far. Again, only 5% of those votes in, so we'll see what happens now. We do know that now the nominees or the people running for Moorhead mayor, they're waiting for November for their opportunity at this spot left vacant by Shelley Carlson, and we'll see what happens as she pursues a state house spot. But again, 5% of that vote in there so far. Erica Yoni leading the way. Let's take a look at some other races that we've been following here in the VNL newsroom. Of course, in District 7, this is for the DFL primary nod there. Eric Osberg leading the way. I muted my microphone for that. I had to cough there and clear my throat, and Duke gave me a gnarly look when I did it out loud. Someone in the TikTok chat said, "Black screen, that's suspicious. I promise we're not doing anything." It sometimes we just don't have the most convenient setup back here in the Digital Content Center. I promise the black screen is not suspicious in this case. Eric Osberg, again, leading the way for District 7. The winner of this DFL primary for that U.S. House District 7 spot will go up against Michelle Fischbach in November. Eric Osberg leading the way there. For District 8, the DFL side, 2% of the vote in so far. Trina Swanson with the vast majority of those votes. Same situation on the GOP side of that U.S. House district. Pete Stauber with over 2,000 votes of the 3.6% that have been counted so far. So again, we're still very early in a lot of these races, but then some other ones are being called. We have U.S. Senate primary that's been called on the GOP side, and then we have a governor, a GOP race being called on, or sorry, a DFL race being called on the governor election. So there's a lot of races being called. There's a wide variety here. Some are way too early to tell, some are way too close to call, and then others are already being called. Looking at the GOP primary for the gubernatorial race, Lisa Demuth still leading the way, over 36,000 votes there. Mike Lindell, about 12,000 votes behind her. 18% of those votes in for the GOP primary. We know the Democratic primary has been called, or the DFL primary, I should say. District 4A, no new updates since we last checked that not very long ago. But yeah, no, race is starting to come in. This is the one that I am very interested in, just because of how close it is. Peggy Flanagan and Angie Craig going head to head for this in this DFL primary for a U.S. Senate seat. Peggy with 63,000, just over 63,000 votes. Angie Craig with just short of 55,000 votes. We'll see who is able to outlast the other one here. We're probably in this one for the long haul. But while that race has been entirely too close to call, again, some others already being called. Let's go ahead and take a look again at just some of the races overall. 6B, we have some numbers for the first time here. I'll scroll back down for that. Thank you for that heads up, Duke. Duke's sources are better than mine. But Duke saying that we should be on the lookout for some numbers in the District 6B GOP primary, and that one is again, a fringe part of our viewing area. It's in Crow Wing County. Incumbent Republican Josh Heintzman against Matthew Zinda there. Who's leading that one? Just because you could see it before I can.
Heintzman, 88% of the votes on about 180 votes.
Okay, 180 votes. Josh Heintzman with the 88% of those votes in so far, so still very early in that District 6B State House primary. People asking who was picked for, or I guess by people, I mean one person in our TikTok chat asking who won the DFL primary. I can tell you right now, Pee-wee 97. It was Amy Klobuchar securing the DFL primary nod, over 107,000 votes. This was called when only 11% of the votes were in, and Amy Klobuchar was giving a speech by the time 14% of the votes were in. 107,000, just under 108,000 votes for Amy Klobuchar to win that DFL primary. And then the GOP side, that's still an absolute battle between the three we expected it to be. Mike Lindell hanging tough in there with Lisa Demuth, though. Kendall Qualls behind Lindell with about just over 17,000 votes. If you have any questions or other comments that you want to address in our live chats, we of course have many avenues for that. We've been watching our Facebook live feed as well as our TikTok live stream. I will say the TikTok live stream, we don't do this very often. We might have to do this more. The TikTok live stream with the comments is very, very active. So I think we might have to do this a little bit more. Thank you to the TikTok audience for showing out today. Let's go ahead and take a look at just some more widespread election results right now. We're not going to read all of these, but I'll scroll through them, and then any that are noteworthy to me, we'll go ahead and call it out. If you have anything that you want to see specifically, let me know, and we'll go ahead and pull those up. Looking at U.S. House for District 1, the GOP primary, Brad Finstad winning that with 83% of the vote, over 6,000 votes of the 13% that have been counted so far. That's enough to call that one for U.S. House District 1 for the GOP primary. Let's see. We still have no results in for quite a few. Ilhan Omar, not a lot of movement on this U.S. House District 5 race yet. I think it's been pretty much the same numbers. You might have something different for District 5, Duke, but I've got Ilhan Omar with over 5,800 votes of the 3.4% in. If you have a different number than that, please let me know and we can cross-reference there. Tom Emmer winning the GOP primary for U.S. House District 6. 21,000 votes of the 36% counted thus far. Eric Osberg with it's a similar story that we've had for the past little while here on this Valley News Now stream. Osberg with about 1,700 votes of the 5% counted so far. District 8, we have both sides duking it out right now. On the DFL side, it's the three-way race. Trina Swanson leading that, over 2,500 votes of the 4.4% counted. Pete Stauber dominating the early goings of the GOP primary for District 8. Let's see here. What else is sticking out? Again, a lot of very early results. This one's at least has double digits reporting. The DFL primary for State Senate on District 29, Lewis McNutt with 60% of that vote so far. 0% for numerous districts out there as well. District 4A has not had more movement since the last time we checked, but if you did miss it in the brief time that we had it up here, it's a battle between the DFL endorsed candidate Erica Yoni and Moorhead Mayor Shelley Carlson. Yoni with an early lead there, 157 of the 5.3% of the counted votes so far. District 6B, we knew that one's in our viewing area as well, the northern area of it, or the fringe area of it out by Crow Wing County. 159 votes of the 3% in for Josh Heintzman so far. Heintzman with an early lead. All right, let's continue to move down here, and we're going to check back in with the governor and Senate races. It doesn't look like there's been much more movement, if that's a sentence that makes sense. Still 15% of the votes counted for the DFL primary for U.S. Senate. Still very close. Peggy Flanagan and Angie Craig looking to outlast the other. Peggy Flanagan with just over 65,000 votes counted. Angie Craig with just under 57,000. So still very close. I think we're in for a long one in that race tonight. And then, as we know, Michelle Tafoya winning the GOP primary for that Senate spot as well. We just got a statement for state auditor. I believe that one has been called, for those of you that were curious as to what was happening in the state auditor race. According to the DFL, Zach Flipovich has won that DFL primary for state auditor. I can't seem to find... Oh, here we go. Oh, I think he was running unopposed. Sorry, folks. I got to vet these before I start reading them out loud. It's a live stream. You never know what's going to happen. Let's take a look at our chats and see what anybody's saying. Nothing too crazy. A lot of people also very interested in the Peggy Flanagan and I didn't want to say the wrong name, and I almost did. On the Peggy Flanagan and Angie Craig race, still 15.7% of that counted thus far. Let's take a look and see what our friends in the Twin Cities are doing. This is our affiliate station, our NBC station in the Twin Cities. This is from KARE 11. As more and more watch parties continue, especially for this Senate race. They were talking to Mike Lindell a little bit earlier. He is still currently holding down the runner-up spot in this GOP primary for Minnesota governor, but there has been some movement on that, actually. They're now up to 19% of the votes in for the GOP primary for Minnesota governor. Lisa Demuth still leading the way, though, with 38,000 over 38,000 votes, 38,440 for those of you keeping track at home. Mike Lindell and Kendall Qualls continuing to stay within about 12,000. There's about a 12,000 vote gap between each of the three frontrunners there for that GOP primary. But nothing being called yet on the GOP side, but we, of course, do know who is going to be the DFL candidate for Minnesota governor, and that is going to be Amy Klobuchar, who, again, if you're just if you're just joining us, they called the DFL primary for Amy Klobuchar at about 11% of the vote. So Amy Klobuchar with we knew that she was going to be the heavy favorite going into this. I don't think we expected to be able to call it quite that early. But yeah, if you want your voice to be heard, make sure you leave a comment in our Facebook live stream or our TikTok live feed. The TikTok live feed has been very active since we started on there. We're going to have to broadcast on there more. Facebook Live has been very quiet today, which is an unusual situation for the Valley News Live Facebook page. Nice. Okay, perfect. Thank you for that, Duke. Let's go ahead and check in on that. For District 5, the GOP primary, I say, with a question mark? Yes. Oh, okay. Well, you didn't tell me that it was 40 total votes there, but we do have some numbers in. That's a very good point, Duke. Thank you so much for that. District 5 state Senate race in the GOP primary, the incumbent Paul Utke with a we'll call it early lead of the, 40 votes counted thus far. Thank you for that update. Let's maybe get approval before we come to me with more updates from now on. For those of you keeping track at home, that area, that District 5 area, that affects some of the northern parts of our viewing area, Wadena, Todd, Cass counties, Hubbard County, some areas of Becker County as well. So I guess more of the eastern edge of our Minnesota viewing area. So numbers nonetheless. I'll give you credit for that. I appreciate that. I did tell you to come at me with anything, no matter how substantial. So I guess I'll take the blame for that one. It's a fun election day. This it's kind of the polar opposite of what we were dealing with when we did this exact same live stream for the North Dakota side of things, where we also had severe weather on the same day. We didn't get any results until the 9 o'clock hour for that election. This one, obviously, a lot more coming in much quicker than what we were dealing with in the last election that we covered here on Valley News. Now, I want to thank all of you who have, a lot of you have been staying on this for quite some time, and we really do appreciate that. Thank you all for making us your home for this election coverage here for this primary election. We'll see you back here in November. We'll do the same thing again, maybe even longer next time. We'll see. Let's take a look at some of the other races that we've got here. Nothing new called yet is what I'm noticing right now, which, depending on which race you're waiting on, that's a good thing or a bad thing. Still 15% of the vote in for this DFL primary for state senate. Peggy Flanagan and Angie Craig duking it out there. About 12,000 or less. Yeah, less than that. About 8,000 votes separate them. 4A, Carlson, and Yoni. Okay, 4A, Duke is alerting me to. This is between Moorhead Mayor Shelley Carl. Oh, okay, what do you have? I only have 5.3% of the vote in.
You got 46% reporting, 63% for Yoni at 1,000, just over 1,000 votes. Shelley Carlson, 37% at 600.
Okay, so as we're waiting on, for those of you that couldn't hear that, we're waiting for it to update on our page. Duke's sources have what percentage of it again? 46% of this District 4A matchup. Now, this is interesting to us in our Fargo-Moorhead viewing area, specifically because Shelley Carlson, the current mayor of Moorhead, is running for this spot. Erica Yoni, the DFL endorsed candidate. Here we go. We just got a live update there. Perfect timing. 40% of that vote in, 63% of that vote, just over 1,000 votes counted so far, going to Erica Yoni. Again, she is the DFL endorsed candidate in this District 4A Democratic primary. A psychiatric nurse practitioner, and like I said, the DFL endorsed candidate. Her opponent in this, Shelley Carlson, Moorhead's current mayor. So a lot up in the air for that. People are keeping track of how many times I say the word Duke, whether I'm saying Duke it out or calling your name. So we have a lot going on here. Yeah, no, that's not happening. Okay, let's see what else has been updated along with that. We knew that Keith Ellison won the DFL primary for Attorney General. Michelle Tafoya won the GOP primary for U.S. Senate. For those of you just joining us that may not have heard that yet, Amy Klobuchar winning the DFL primary for in the gubernatorial election. So those are the ones that are called so far, along with the District 6 GOP primary. That one being won by Tom Emmer and Brad Feinstad winning the GOP primary for District 1. Those are the races that have been called thus far. Let's take a look at some more of our elections in our viewing area. Let's find Minnesota House District 9B. That one is affecting our west central Minnesota viewing area, Otter Tail County and parts of Douglas County. Let's see if I could track that down. 9B. Between Tom Murphy, the incumbent, and Craig Horlocker. 3% of that vote in so far, nothing too substantial yet, but Tom Murphy with 87% of that vote, so that's one we're watching as well. District 8, which we have DFL and GOP primaries. Pete Stauber, 11% of the vote in, dominating that GOP primary so far, 86% of those votes. And then on the DFL side, Trina Swanson leading the way with 9.6% of the vote in. She has just over 5,000 votes there. So again, that is for mainly the Duluth area, but it also does affect parts of our viewing area, Beltrami County, Cass County, Clearwater County, Monoman County. Counties in that area are the ones that are watching that race. Let's look at some more here. We just talked about District 5 between Paul Utke and Mike Weiner. No new updates on there as far as I know. State House District 6B, that's the other one that we need to watch. What do you see? Oh, 6B? More numbers for 6B? Yep. Okay, let's find that. See, I'm way ahead of you. You got to be quicker than that. Okay. Nothing crazy new on on that one, but we'll still check it out. But let's go ahead and look at 6B between Josh Heintzman and Matthew Zinda. Heintzman with 587 votes leading the way there, 90% of the 13% that have been counted so far. And then what was the other one we were talking about? District 5 between the incumbent Paul Utke and Mike Weiner. Let's find that. Utke, about 100 votes cast there. Utke with 60 of them for the lead. It's a tight one. We'll see what happens there. All right, let's take a look at my someone campaigning. Someone in our TikTok chat is campaigning to be written in as a candidate for U.S. Senate. I hate to tell you, but the polls have closed. I think your window is possibly closed there for your U.S. Senate spot. But maybe next time. We'll see. Oh, we're up to 20% of the vote in now for that DFL Senate primary. Peggy Flanagan still leading the way, about 11,000 vote lead over Angie Craig there. 52% of those votes that have been counted so far for Peggy Flanagan as she leads the way in that DFL primary. Angie Craig with about 45% of those votes. It is this DFL primary for this U.S. Senate spot is interesting because there's quite the drop-off here. There's Flanagan with 52.3% of the votes counted so far, Craig with 45.4% of those votes counted so far, and then nobody else with over 1% of the counted votes. So it's certainly a two-horse race. We'll see who outlasts the other as we move on. See, I didn't say that they're duking it out this time. Don't count that. That doesn't count for those of you who are keeping track in the chat. State Secretary of State still too close to call. GOP primaries up to 25% of the votes in. Lisa Demuth has crossed the 50,000 vote threshold though for GOP primary. So that is one to watch for sure. Mike Lindell hanging out at about 35,000 votes. Kendall Qualls behind him at 24,000. 25% of those votes in for the GOP primary. So that's one we're obviously watching very closely. The winner of that GOP primary will go up against the winner of the DFL primary in the gubernatorial race, Amy Klobuchar. Those two will meet in November to be named the next governor of Minnesota. Auditors still too close to call for the GOP primary. The Democratic primary for Attorney General has been won by Keith Ellison, as we previously reported. Peggy Flanagan and Angie Craig still too close to call. We know Michelle Tafoya received the GOP nomination, or won the GOP primary for U.S. Senate. 25% of those votes in for that GOP primary. Michelle Tafoya with over 61,000 votes there. I'm just looking for anything that has been highlighted, folks. Don't mind me. We knew Tom Emmer won the District 6 GOP primary. Oh, we have a new one called. This one is for District 4, the DFL primary. I am going to have to look up for sure where that is. U.S. House. District 4, Minnesota. I'm real well versed in where our districts are for our viewing area. Outside of it, that's where I start to lose track there. Okay, this is nearly all of Ramsey County and part of Washington County. That one has been won by Betty McCollum, the DFL primary for U.S. House District 4. Betty McCollum winning with over just under 18,000 votes of the 17% of the total votes cast so far. She has 88% of them. Betty McCollum being declared not declared the winner, is the presumed winner of the DFL primary for U.S. House District 4. That one is a newly called race. We knew Brad Feinstad won the GOP primary for U.S. House District 1. That one's not necessarily new. Yeah, I think that's where we stand so far. Let's take a look at District 7, which was at the top of my screen there. 14% of those votes in for District 7. This is for the DFL primary for the U.S. House District 7 nomination. The winner of this election will go up against Michelle Fischbach in November for this District 7 U.S. House spot. Eric Osberg with about 4,600 votes so far, 14% of the votes in. Still too close to call, but Eric Osberg with a lead there. Pete Stauber still leading the way in the GOP primary for District 8. DFL primary for the same district still being led by Trina Swanson. 9.5% of the votes in on the DFL side, 11.5% votes in on the GOP side. About 100 votes in still for the District 5 GOP primary. Paul Utke, slim lead there, but again, there's only been 100 votes counted so far, so we're not necessarily sure where that's at. Let's see here. Looking for any more that have been called. It doesn't look like there's been much movement since we last got a refresh here. Looking in on our watch parties as well, it looks like our sister station or our affiliate station, KARE 11 in the Twin Cities, it looks like they're talking to Lisa Demuth right now as we await the GOP primary there. We do know that 25% of the votes are in on that GOP primary. Lisa Demuth leading the way with just over 50,000 of those votes. Mike Lindell behind her with just over 35,000. Kendall Qualls behind him with just over 24,000. But again, 25% of those votes in so far. So it's obviously too close to call at this point, but we'd seen other races get called much sooner than that. Duke, if you can check the GOP primary for governor, see if there's any difference in what you have versus what I have, but I'm at 25% of the votes in so far. Same? Okay, great. Good. So see, folks, we're not missing anything. I'm on top of things here. We're going to keep our eye on our KARE 11 feeds from the Twin Cities as we await more of these races being called. Yeah, right now things are still too close to call speed. Oh, we do have more votes in the DFL the DFL primary for U.S. Senate. Peggy Flanagan continuing to hold that lead there. I wouldn't even call this the 22%. It's not the early goings anymore, but Peggy Flanagan with just over 91,500 of those votes so far, 22% of the vote in. She has 52% of those. Angie Craig with just under 80,000 votes, 45% of the votes cast so far. So again, still quite the fight there on the DFL primary for U.S. Senate. That one has been knockdown, drag out since the very beginning of this coverage here, this live stream. I might need to stand up soon. 3 hours is a long time to sit down with no commercial breaks, folks. I wish there was something I could put on the screen while I readjust the shot, but it's fine. We're just going to keep sitting here and let my legs go numb for a little bit. All right. Doesn't look like anything new is being called at this point. Thank you for the confirmation, Duke. More numbers coming in. We have a lot less 0% reporting so far, which is a good sign there. Let's find 4A. Let's see where that's sitting. 40% of this is where it was when we last checked it. Again, this one affecting Clay County, specifically the Moorhead area, District 4A, the DFL primary. Erica Yoni, the party endorsed candidate, who is also a psychiatric nurse practitioner, just over 1,000 votes there. She has 63% of the votes counted so far. Shelley Carlson, the current Moorhead mayor, has 600 of the votes cast so far. 36% of the total votes in for this District 4A DFL primary. That one's going to be interesting, especially with the mayoral election then taking center stage in November. We'll see what happens here with Moorhead Mayor Shelley Carlson. But yeah, Erica Yoni with over 1,000 votes there so far. 63% of the votes in so far, leading the way. Nothing new being called from what I'm able to see, but we do have We're at double digits reporting for a lot of our races now, which is good. Checking in on District 5, the DFL race, it's been stuck at 3.4% for quite some time. If yours looks any different, Duke, but the DFL primary for District 5 with Ilhan Omar, she's been, on my screen, she's been at like 5,800 votes since we started this stream. The same for you? Okay, great. We knew that Betty McCollum has been projected to win the DFL primary for U.S. House District 4, over 17,000 votes of the 17% that have been counted so far. Oh, okay, here's a new one's being called, U.S. House District 2, which I will look up exactly where that is, because again, folks, I became an expert overnight on the U.S. districts in our viewing area. Not necessarily... Okay, this is the South Twin Cities Metro. Matt Little winning the DFL primary there. He's been projected as the winner for U.S. House District 2, defeating Matthew Klein. Matt Little with just under 34,000 votes there. 76.7% of those votes counted. Matt Little being projected to win U.S. House District 2 for the DFL primary, I should say. The DFL primary for U.S. House District 2 with just under 34,000 votes. Hey, we just got an email saying that he won as I announced that he has been projected to win. I'm scooping the DFL, folks. Taking a look again at the results here. As I'm just so you know, when I'm looking down here, I'm keeping my eye on the various watch parties that our NBC stations in the Twin Cities are covering. They just talked to Lisa Demuth a little bit ago, who is still leading the way, I believe. Yes, still leading the way on the GOP gubernatorial primary there. That's gone up, actually. 31% of the votes in now. Lisa Demuth with over 66,000 of those votes. Mike Lindell with 43, just over 43,000 there. Kendall Qualls behind him with just over 29,000. More votes for Senate are in. Thank you so much. Wow, Peggy Flanagan she crossed the 100,000 vote threshold first in this hotly contested race between Peggy Flanagan and Angie Craig for the DFL nomination for U.S. Senate. Peggy Flanagan with... why does that happen every time I talk about that race? It's suspicious. Peggy Flanagan with just over 100,000 votes there. That's 53% of the votes that have been counted so far in that U.S. Senate race. Angie Craig behind her with 85,000. That seems like a wide gap. It's really not in an election like this, especially with 24% of those votes being counted. So that one's still, those two still going toe-to-toe there for that in that DFL primary. Still too close to call. We'll see what happens as we continue to count down the minutes here. The results have been coming in very quickly here. They have now counted 23% of the votes for the DFL primary for governor. Amy Klobuchar, who had the race called at 11%, now with over 170,000 votes on the DFL side of things there for the gubernatorial primary. Check back in with 4A, still 40% of those votes counted with District 4A for State House, Erica Yoni against Moorhead Mayor Shelley Carlson. Erica Yoni with just over 1,000 votes there. Shelley Carlson with 600 of the, again, 40% that have been counted thus far. I haven't talked about District 7 in a minute. Let's take a look here. District 7... it's still about the same as it was when we last checked. 25% of that vote there. Eric Osberg leading the way with about 7,800 votes. So that's 65% of the votes that have been counted so far. Steve Carlson with just over 4,000. The winner of this DFL primary for U.S. House District 7 will square off with Michelle Fischbach in November for that District 7 position in the U.S. House. This is a new one. For District 4, the District 4 GOP primary has been won by Paul Wickstrom with about 7,500 votes there. 30% of the vote in for that is nearly all of Ramsey County and part of Washington County, which is in that District 4. We knew that Betty McCollum won the DFL primary for that same district, and now Paul Wickstrom taking the GOP side of that as well. We knew that these two had been called. I want to thank everybody who's continuing to tune in to watch me scroll on an election results page until we get some live feeds that we could throw to from our NBC station in the Twin Cities with live reaction from the gubernatorial primaries as well as the Senate primaries. We had a live reaction from Amy Klobuchar. I've been talking too much. I'm starting to lose it here. We had live reaction from DFL primary winner Amy Klobuchar as she won. She was the first election called, I believe, and we had a live reaction from her. I imagine we'll have very similar elements as more and more winners start to come in. Keith Ellison winning the DFL primary for Attorney General. Let's refresh the page. Maybe that's the secret to having new numbers. Oh, a Bobby Fallett appearance. Is he just coming to say hello, or is he coming to talk to the people?
A little bit of both.
Okay. Come on over, Bobby.
Devin, thank you. Well, just want to quickly step in here. You know, we are just 20 minutes away from the 10 p.m. newscast coming up. Thank you so much. You've been batting leadoff for this whole. You and Duke Schindler in here. You guys have been batting leadoff. I just want to quickly give the people, according to the AP, you know, we have been following these results all night long. How long exactly will it take before we get a call on some of these? Could be quite a while. We were looking at that the DFL, the U.S. Senate race.
Flanagan and Craig.
Right now, according to this, these results are a little bit higher right now. We have Craig at 90, just passing the 91,000 threshold. Peggy Flanagan, 108,000, but it's within 600 votes right now for each of them right now. Estimated 25.5. They have 25.7. So these results coming in just a few seconds later. But the estimated remaining votes that still need to be tallied, right, if everyone voted, who probably, not sure if everyone did, but they're saying an estimated remaining 589,000 votes could potentially still be tallied. So just wanted to give the people a heads up of when exactly can we see a name, get that check mark, turn to gold, turn to yellow, whatever color you want to pick it for these races. At least for that one, it is going to be a little while. Paying attention to the governor's race, an estimated 298,000 still to be tallied for the GOP one. This one's still too close to call, with Lisa Damath getting over that 73,000. Yep, these numbers look to be exactly right now with 35.1%. So still thousands of ballots needing to be tallied. Just wanted to fill you in on where exactly we are potentially with this whole voter turnout and how many still need to be counted.
Right, and it's interesting too, because we saw one race get called at 11,000 votes.
Yes.
We saw Amy Klobuchar, or at 11% of the vote in. We saw they were able to call Amy Klobuchar very quickly. The other races aren't so cut and dry there. So that's an important note, Bobby. And we are continuing to track these. A lot of the U.S. House races are starting to get called, but these bigger races that obviously had a little bit of a bigger turnout, those are ones that we're going to need to, especially, and I have these updated numbers in here now that you gave us. Peggy Flanagan with over nearly 110,000 votes. Angie Craig with over 92,000. 26% of that in. And we knew going in that this was going to be a kind of down to the wire contest, particularly between these two. But we're in for the long haul with this one. We knew that this was and we'll see what happens on the. We just got a statement on Kendall Qualls. You prep that. I'll talk about the GOP side of things, because our affiliate station down in Minneapolis, KARE 11, they were just talking to Lisa Damath on their live feed as well, which we were able to take some video of. But obviously nothing has been called at that point yet. But Lisa Damath has been leading the way. You got to wonder where things are at from her perspective of all right, how much longer do we have to wait here?
Yeah, and Devin, this is actually very interesting. I don't know if it has that race been called yet?
For which one?
The GOP primary.
No, not yet.
Okay, because just coming down.
Can you check that?
just coming down from Kendall Qualls right now, saying, quote, his statement, "I congratulate our next governor, Lisa Dameth, for earning the support of Republican primary voters." We'll have to wait and see if maybe something has happened.
So Qualls basically sent out a
Unless
concession statement?
Is kind of what it looks like, saying, "While this was not the outcome we hoped for, I'm incredibly grateful to the delegates, volunteers, supporters, and donors who believed in our vision for Minnesota."
Now that could honestly just be him seeing where he's at between Dameth and Lindell right now.
Right.
But Kendall Qualls sure does seem to think that Lisa Dameth has this GOP primary locked up.
Potentially.
Nothing has been called. That's what he says. Yeah, nothing has been called yet. Of course, this would be yellow if it was called.
Yes.
But that's definitely something that we'll watch for. I'm wondering if we're going to be getting another wave of results soon. Duke has been on a much better source for that than I have been. I'm not saying ours is bad, but whatever he's got is way quicker than mine. So we'll see if we get another wave of votes in here that will call this race. But for right now, Lisa Dameth leading the way, but it's not called yet by any stretch of the imagination. Right. Kendall Qualls may be offering a concession, saying that the better person won.
Right.
But nobody has won yet. So,
and this was an interesting race from the start. We know that Kendall Qualls got
calling this race interesting that's very
earning the endorsement from the GOP party. Lisa Dameth then getting the blessing from the party to also run, and then Mike Lindell, obviously we know, stepping down as CEO from MyPello and getting the endorsement from President Donald Trump.
And that endorsement, like he had a lot of momentum going into it just based off of him being a personality and who he's been connected to. But the actual endorsement from the sitting president, that can't be understated there as a bit of momentum for Mike Lindell. And right now he's sitting about 13,000 or 23,000 votes behind Lisa Dameth there as we await maybe another wave of results here. We'll see what the statement from Kendall Qualls that we got said it's an interesting wrinkle here. We'll see where that goes. But that's where we're sitting so far. Thank you for that, Bobby. You better get ready for Valley News Live at 10.
We're 14 minutes away. We will, not that who's counting, right? And we will have these more updated numbers. Perhaps we do get a check mark and that race gets called, but still very, very too close right now.
That's very correct. Thank you so much, Bobby.
Devin,
thank you for popping through. And I do want to say we are going to go ahead and we'll keep this party going over on the digital side of things. I kind of want to see where the Senate race goes. We might hang out for that. What do you got for me, Duke?
Stauber wins House District 8.
Nice. House District 8 has been called, according to Duke Schindler. That Duke Schindler first reporting that is being called. No, it hasn't. The site hasn't updated on our side yet. But so U.S. House District 8, that is again mainly the Duluth area, but there is still parts of our viewing area that is watching this race. Beltrami County, Cass County, Clearwater County, Monoman County in Minnesota, to name a few. So according to some sources, I believe that Duke Schindler has Pete Stauber winning District 8. We'll wait for that to update on this site, and then we'll go from there.
District 4A is 85% reported.
District 4A is, okay. We have 83.4% of the vote in for District 4A. I'll go ahead and pull. I'm just sitting here staring at you guys instead of showing you actual data. 1 second here. Let's get the right camera up. There we go. U.S. House District 4A. Again, this is in Clay County, and it's involving Moorhead Mayor Shelley Carlson, but the person in front in this DFL primary is the DFL endorsed candidate, Erica Yoni, who's also a psychiatric nurse practitioner. Over 2,000 votes for Erica Yoni, about a little over 1,250 votes for Moorhead Mayor Shelley Carlson. 83.4% of that vote in. We can possibly see that called any minute here. We'll see. We'll see where that goes. Let's take a look at Yep, okay. I now have District 8 called on my end as well. Pete Stauber winning that. Again, that's mainly affecting Duluth, but some parts of our viewing area in there as well. Beltrami County, Cass County, Clearwater County, Monoman, spots in that general region. 11.2% of the vote in for this District 5 GOP primary. This one being watched by folks in Wadena, Todd, Cass, Hubbard, and Becker counties. Mike Weiner pulling ahead of the incumbent, Paul Utke. Okay, we got some movement there. 11% of the vote in. Weiner with just under 9 or just over 800 there, leading the way with 11% of the vote in. We'll see where that moves. I saw a lot of signs for both. I was up in Walker, Minnesota this past weekend in Cass County. There are a lot of signs for both of those guys there. So a hotly contested race. Still nothing official on the GOP side. Again, we did just get, I'm going to go ahead and read this interesting statement we got from Kendall Qualls, who is currently sitting behind Lisa Damuth and Mike Lindell for this GOP primary. Kendall Qualls congratulating, this is a quote from the press release that Kendall Qualls sent out. I congratulate our next governor, Lisa Damuth, for earning the support of the Republican primary voters. It appears to be a concession speech congratulating Lisa Damuth, but again, nothing has been called yet, so we'll see.
District 8 DFL, Trina Swanson.
Nice. Okay, Trina Swanson. Okay, so District 8 is now a done deal on the DFL and the GOP primaries. Trina Swanson winning the DFL primary with 22% of the vote in. Pete Stauber winning the GOP primary with 28% of the vote in. And so that's where those two more elections in our viewing area being called. Let's see here.
Shelley Carlson, Yoni up to 92%.
And not called yet?
Not called.
Wow, okay. So that's Duke Schindler letting me know there. Yeah, well, I have 97% of the vote in. 97% of the vote in for State House District 4A. This is affecting a chunk of Clay County, including Moorhead. Erica Yoni with over 2,500 votes there. That's 64% of the cast votes, or the counted votes, I should say. Moorhead Mayor Shelley Carlson with 35% of those counted votes. 97% of that vote in, and they're still not, and it still hasn't been called yet. So we'll see what happens there. For
Weiner and Yuki are 51-49.
oh yeah, that just happened live here too. Mike Weiner with his lead over Paul Utke, slimming down a little bit, just over 1,200 votes for Mike Weiner, about just under 1,200 for Paul Utke, the incumbent in that race. 19% of that vote in for the GOP primary in District 5, which again, for those of you keeping track at home, the GOP primary for District 5, people are going to be watching that from Wadena County, Todd County, Cass County, Hubbard County, and Becker County. Still no more. Oh, we just got a statement from Amy Klobuchar sent to us. For those of you asking in our TikTok chat, yes, the current leading candidate for for State Senate District 5 on the GOP primary is Mike Weiner. Mike Weiner and Paul Utke going head-to-head in that race. Okay, anyway, we just got a statement from Amy Klobuchar saying that she won the DFL primary, but we knew that already. That one got called at 11% of the vote. GOP still too close to call with 40% of the vote in. Lisa Damuth with 83,000 votes. Mike Lindell with just under 59,000. 45% of the counted votes so far going to Lisa Damuth. The GOP primary for auditor has been called with 40% of the vote. Scott Jensen leading that with just over 116,000 votes. And we knew that the GOP primary for U.S. Senate was won by Michelle Tafoya. looking for any newly called races. U.S. House District 1, the DFL primary won by Jake Johnson with over 21% of the vote counted. He has over 11,000 votes. For those of you curious, like I am, U.S. House District 1 spans southern Minnesota from the border with South Dakota to the border with Wisconsin. Jake Johnson winning the DFL primary for that district there. We haven't checked in on District 7 in a while. It's still, well, the gap has widened a little bit with Eric Osberg over Steve Carlson. 44% of the votes in Osberg with just over 13,500 of those votes counted thus far. And I will let you all know when our 10 o'clock show starts, we will be kicked off of one of our feeds, which is for the smart TV and the website. We are going to stay live on social media here until I feel like we can close out. If Duke, you can leave whenever you want to, though. You're doing great, and I appreciate you being here, but I don't want to hold you longer than I need to. If you're having fun, though, feel free to stick around. I'm having fun. All right. This Flanagan and Craig race continues to be neck and neck. Peggy Flanagan with just over 134,000 votes. Angie Craig with just over 107,000. 31% of those votes counted so far. Like Bobby Fallett came in here and told us a little bit ago, we might have some time until they call that DFL Senate primary. One thing that I'm watching pretty closely is this GOP primary for governor, for the governor nomination on the GOP side. Lisa Damuth with a lead right now, 40% of that vote. She has just over 83,000 votes. The interesting part of that is a statement we got emailed to us by Kendall Qualls. There was just some movement on the GOP side, and I'm not sure what it was. It doesn't look like anything's too different, but something just moved on the screen. So if you caught that at home, let me know what it was. Let us know in the Facebook chat or on our TikTok account, however you can get to us, or email it to me, or text me if you have my number. Now, the interesting part of this, Lisa Damuth leading the way with just over 83,000 votes, 40% of the votes in. We just got a statement emailed to us from Kendall Qualls basically congratulating Lisa Damuth. So we're going to see what happened there. Right now, nothing has been called. District 7 has been called, though, funnily enough. We just got another release about Amy Klobuchar winning the DFL. We already knew that. Okay, 44% of the votes in for District 7. That has been called. Now, District 7 is pretty much the entire west side of Minnesota. This is the DFL primary for that U.S. House district. Eric Osberg winning with 44% of the vote in, just under 14,000. You have a show to do. Oh, okay. U.S. House District 7 has been called. We now know that Eric Osberg is going to go up against Michelle Fischbach for that District 7 spot in November. So that's another area race being called. Obviously, District 7, with how wide of an area it is, that certainly affects us. We are, believe it or not, right in the middle of that. So, still 19% of that vote in for District 5 in the GOP primary. Let's check District 4A again. We're still at 97% on our site anyway. Erica Ione still leading the way. Now, they still have 3% of the votes to count for this District 4A spot. Moorhead Mayor Shelley Carlson currently behind the DFL-endorsed Erica Ione. So we will see what happens there, who gets that DFL nod for District 4A. Continuing to look here, the GOP primary has not moved since we last checked. Scott Jensen won the GOP primary for state auditor. Michelle Tafoya, we knew, won the GOP primary for U.S. Senate. Flanagan and Craig still very close, still at 31%. No new updates since the last time we checked down there. Keith Ellison winning the DFL primary for Attorney General. Sorry, being named the projected winner for the DFL primary for Attorney General. What else should we check in on here? We know District 8 has been called. District 5 is still being contested right now. 6B, that's another one we need to look at. The GOP primary for State House District 6B, which is the fringe area of our viewing area in Crow Wing County. The incumbent Josh Heintzman with about 90% of the vote, with 49% of the votes in. Over 2,200 votes for Josh Heintzman so far. That one could be called at any point here. We'll have to keep our eye out for that one. Other than that, though, we know, okay, so I'm actually going to write this down right now. District 7 has been called. District 4A has not been called yet. 9B? 9B has also not been called yet. That one also matters to us. This one's West Central Minnesota, which is Otter Tail County and parts of Douglas County as well. 9.4% of those votes in. Tom Murphy leading the way with 660 of those votes. That one has not been called yet. We know that District 8 has been called for both the DFL and GOP. And then District 6B is another one we're waiting on. So we have a few local races remaining. We're turning our attention overwhelmingly to the 4A. Do you have it called on your end?
No, but
100% reported. I got 99. Yeah. Okay. We're waiting for official word on 4A. Erica Yoni with the lead with 99% of the votes in. Duke actually had 100% of the votes in where he was checking. So Erica Yoni looking like she's going to win that DFL primary for State House District 4A over Moorhead Mayor Shelley Carlson. Utke has pulled ahead on District 5. Paul Utke, 24% of that vote in with just over 1,500. Mike Weiner right behind him with just over 1,400. But again, 24% of that vote in. Who knows actually how many votes separate those two, though, in that area. So we'll see. Okay, we have, let's see. DFL primary has been called for governor. GOP primary is still open. GOP primary for U.S. Senate has also been called. Okay. Don't mind me, folks. I'm just keeping score here. It is 10 o'clock, so we have lost our smart TV viewers and our web stream viewers. But we're going to hang out here on the socials, and maybe at least until we get a GOP governor nominee. We'll see. But, yeah, I'm very curious to see where this goes, and I'm having a good time, so let's not go anywhere yet. Erica Yanni, thank you very much for that. Oh, I've been saying Yoni. My fault. I knew that too. Thank you very much for the correction, David. We will fix that moving forward here. Erica Yanni. Still not called on my end yet. But again, 99% of the votes, Erica Yanni with about 1,400 vote lead. So we'll see what happens here. GOP primary, 43% of those votes in so far. Lisa Damuth still leading the way with about 88.7 thousand votes, 44% of the 43% that have been counted so far. Mike Lindell with just over 64,000 votes. Kendall Qualls with over 41,000 votes for that third place spot. Qualls did send out a statement just a little bit ago saying that basically congratulating Lisa Damuth. So not sure what's going to happen with that. Could be called soon. We'll see. We're going to keep hovering around this 4A to see what happens with Erica Yanni and Shelley Carlson here. The Moorhead Mayor Shelley Carlson going up against the DFL-endorsed Erica Yanni. Thank you all again for continuing to stay with us here. I know we've gone past the 3-hour mark of what we said this live stream was going to be, but we're just having such a great time. District 5 still at 3% of the votes in for U.S. House District 5, with Ilhan Omar still leading the way at over 5,800 votes there. But again, we haven't had an update to that one in quite some time. Okay, let's go over the ones that have been called so far. U.S. House District 1, won by Jake Johnson on the DFL side of that race. The GOP primary for District 1 going to Brad Feinstad. The DFL DFL primary for District 2 being won by Matt Little. DFL, both sides of District 4 have been called. Betty McCollum winning for the DFL primary, the GOP primary going to Paul Wilkstrom. In District 6, the GOP primary won by Tom Emmer. District 7, which obviously affects our viewing area here in western Minnesota. District 7, the DFL primary being won by Eric Osberg. He will now go head-to-head with Michelle Fischbach in November for that U.S. House District 7 spot. Both sides of District 8 have been called. The DFL side won by Trina Swanson. The GOP side won by Pete Stauber. Those two will now meet in November. Are likely to meet in November. And that's it as far as called races, except, of course, Amy Klobuchar with a dominant display on the DFL side. The GOP side still too close to call. We do have new numbers now, but there's still not enough to call the race. Lisa Damath with over 95,000 votes, 47% of the votes in. Mike Lindell at just over 68,000 votes, 32% of the counted votes. All right. DFL primary for Attorney General goes to Keith Ellison. GOP primary for State Auditor goes to Scott Jensen. Peggy Flanagan and Angie Craig still squaring off for that U.S. Senate DFL spot. 34% of the votes counted. Peggy Flanagan with just over 148,000 votes. Angie Craig with just under 120,000. So still very, very close there. Michelle Tafoya, as we know, winning the GOP primary for U.S. Senate. I want to thank you all so much for continuing to stay with us, as now we're basically just on social media platforms, as we have lost our smart TV feeds and our website feed. Appreciate you all staying with us here as we await some winners here for this, we'll call it a very watched primary. A lot of eyes across the country on here, especially with the open spot in the at state governor, as we look to see who will be vying for that spot in November. Same with a hotly contested Senate race, too, on both the GOP and the DFL sides. We have a live look from Angie Craig's watch party. This is from our affiliate station in the Twin Cities, KARE 11. We're waiting to see what happens with that race. Again, the Angie Craig and that Senate race still very close to call between Angie Craig and Peggy Flanagan. Peggy Flanagan still leading the way. We'll see what happens there. We got only 34% of the vote in, so it's quite a long way to go. If you have any questions or any results that you want me to specifically look for, feel free to drop it in the chat, and I will get to it as those questions or comments come in. We want your voice to be heard just as much as you want, as we want you to hear ours. Okay, I now have 99% of the. I had that, I guess, already. We're still at 99% of the vote counted for District 4A, which Erica Yanni with just over 2,800 votes there. Shelley Carlson just under 1,500. Moorhead Mayor Shelley Carlson there. Yanni leading the way with 65% of the counted votes, with 99% in, should be called any minute. We are watching that very closely, and we'll see what happens. As soon as it gets called, we will bring that to you here. There are still a few races with 0% counted, which I find interesting. Clearwater County Sheriff race. That, I believe, is going to be decided in November, isn't it? Sorry, we have a question in our chat asking for the Clearwater County Sheriff election results, but I don't think that that's happening yet. Oh, I was wrong. Sure did. Oh, no. That will be up in November, I believe. Top 2, gotcha. Okay, well, tell you what, I'm going to look for more information on that, Robin, and once I find it, I will let you know. Yeah, apologies on that. I thought that was a November election there, so I hadn't been tracking it as much as the rest of them. So that is on me. We will have those results as soon as I can find them. Okay, I don't see any results for that yet, but I do see that it was between an Adam Gunderson, Larry Johnson, Clarence LaCroix, and Vern Wittenberg. We will, yeah, no results in for that yet. We'll let you know as soon as we get them, though. Thank you for watching. No, Robin. Thank you. Now, let's see if there's any more results for these statewide elections yet. We're obviously going to have a lot more boots on the ground from our reporters here in November when there's a lot more local things. Lisa Damoth has crossed the 100,000 vote threshold. That's something. 50% of the votes in now. Lisa Damoth with just over 100,000. Mike Lindell at 73,000. And Kendall Qualls at about 46,500 there. Again, 50% of the votes in. We've seen plenty of these races called at much less votes counted. So we'll see what happens here within the next few minutes in the GOP primary.
District 5, UP's expanding the gap.
Okay, all right. We're still getting some updates. Oh, wrong races. Here we go. We got 27% of the votes in that District 5. Yep. Okay. 27.3% of the votes in for District 5, which again that affects the Wadena, Todd County, Cass County, Hubbard County, Becker County. Those in those viewing areas. Paul Utke with just over 1,800 votes. Mike Weiner with just under 1,600. So still very close there. 27% of the votes in. Checking the chats here, don't mind me. And yeah, it's one of the big races that we might not see a winner on for this live stream is the Senate race in the DFL primary. Now up to 35% of the votes in. Peggy Flanagan and Angie Craig still very, very close. Peggy Flanagan with just under 154,000 votes. Angie Craig with about a little over 124,000. That feels like one of the bigger gaps between those two since we started tracking that race. So Peggy Flanagan with it's a nearly 30,000 vote lead over Angie Craig, but again, only 35% of the votes in with a race that close. We're not going to get any firm number on that for a while. I apologize for how squeaky this chair is. It's the only complaint I have about this stream so far. I feel like my chair is very squeaky quite a bit. Did the computer just shut down on you? Oh. I was like, that's awesome. It's a sign. It's telling us to end the stream. I feel bad. I should have taken Valley News Live at 4. All right, 10. Let's take a look here. The feed's not great, so I might shut this down if it doesn't get better. But our station, one of our stations down in the Twin Cities, KARE 11, one of our NBC stations down there, they have a live feed up of Lisa Damoth at her watch party there. And again, we're still waiting on the GOP primary. As you can see, it's a very glitchy feed, so we might pull out of it here soon. But we're waiting on a winner to be declared for that race. 51% of the votes in on the GOP primary. Lisa Damoth leads the way with over 100,000 votes. She's the first person to cross that 100,000 vote threshold. Mike Lindell at just over 73,000. Kendall Qualls at about 46,000. So that gap between those three has continued to widen since we really started tracking this. But Lisa Dameth leading the way, just over 100,000 votes there, waiting for any confirmation on where that race stands right now. But we do know Lisa Dameth leading the way. One thing that made that particularly interesting was Kendall Qualls sent a statement almost half an hour ago at this point, basically congratulating Lisa Dameth, but again, nothing has been called yet, so we'll see where that goes. Let's check in on 4A. They've been at 99% reported for quite some time. Yep, still 99% of the votes in there in District 4A between Erica Yanni and Moorhead Mayor Shelley Carlson. I'm trying to get the right feed here. There we go. Erica Yanni with just over 2,800 votes. Shelley Carlson just under 1,500 votes. 99% of the vote in. We've been sitting at 99% for quite some time. We'll see what happens there. But again, pretty interesting with Shelley Carlson, whose term as mayor is up in December. The field for the mayoral election has already been. The candidate's already in for that. Erica Yanni looks like she's on track to win this District 4A DFL nomination, and so we'll see what happens with Shelley Carlson from there, but we're also still waiting to see where this race goes. It hasn't been called yet, of course. What else were we waiting on for our viewing area? District 9B is one that we're waiting on. This affects west central Minnesota, so Otter Tail County and parts of Douglas County. Tom Murphy leading the way in that one, just over 1,200 votes there, but still only 18% of the votes in there. We'll keep this going until we have probably the GOP nominee figured out. It's a great question. Kathy, I'm going to look. Kathy asking if Pat Carlson won the primary for Coon Rapids mayor. Let's look. That's not on this feed, but I'm going to look it up for it. I do not have any results yet for that one. That race between Jim Shegstad, Pat Carlson, and Tuba Nguyen, still nothing reported for that one yet, Kathy. So I'm going to keep watching that for you, okay, for the Coon Rapids mayoral election there. Again, that's not part of our big feed here, but we want to go ahead and bring any results that anybody may want. It's a little bit harder to find results for things that are not either statewide or in your viewing area in Minnesota, but we're figuring it out. Okay, I'm seeing other reporting from that area that Pat Carlson and, I'm going to butcher this name, Thuba Nguyen will advance to the general election after defeating Jim Shegstad. So to answer your question, Kathy, did Pat Carlson win the primary? Him and Thuba, again, butchering that name, Thuba Yen will advance. So hopefully that answered that question. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you. If you have any other questions or specific results you're looking for that may not be on our Valley News Live election results tab, feel free to let me know, and we will go ahead and keep track of those. Let's refresh the page here and see if that brings me any better luck. Still 50% of the votes in for GOP governor. GOP primary for Secretary of State, too close to call. This Peggy Flanagan and Angie Craig race keeps getting a little bit of a wider berth between the two, about 30,000 votes separating those two. Now, Peggy Flanagan still in the lead with 36% of the vote in. Again, Peggy Flanagan, very recently lieutenant governor under Tim Walz, now running for this DFL, running in this DFL primary for U.S. Senate, leading the way with 54% of the votes in so far. But again, still quite early to call. Okay, let's check for 4A again. Still Still 99%. Oh, we did have this 6B was one we were waiting for as well. This is part of our viewing area. Fringe areas out by Crow Wing County, but we do know that Josh Heintzman has won that, or is being projected to win that race. 57% of the vote in. Josh Heintzman with 89% of those votes. He is the projected winner of the State House District 6B GOP primary. For anybody keeping track of that one at home. 4A still at 99%. That's one we've been waiting on for quite some time. Please don't judge me for taking a drink of an energy drink at 10 p.m. I've been on the air for 3 hours. All right. I'm not sure when we can expect movement here on the GOP side. This is our feed from our NBC station in the Twin Cities, KARE 11. There we go. That is Lisa Damoth. As we continue to wait for results of the GOP primary for governor of Minnesota. Again, we do know that who's going to be on the DFL side of that ticket in November. That's going to be Amy Klobuchar. She won that race at 11% accounted for. Bruce asking who won District 13 in Minnesota. I can tell you what. I'll look right now. District 13 was won by Jared Gapinski. Thank you for asking that. Do you want me to pull that up for you, Bruce? You know what, Bruce? I'm just going to tell you because you're the only one who has asked so far. Jared Kapinski did win District 13 in Minnesota, 99% of the votes in. He won with 65% of those votes. So hopefully that answers your question for you. Thank you for watching. We appreciate you. Again, this is a live feed from Lisa Damoth's watch party. We're waiting on results, more or less. 51% of the votes in. Lisa Damoth is the first person in the GOP primary to cross the 100,000 votes threshold. Looks like there's some chanting going on here. Now, that could mean anything. People like to chant for things. So we'll see what that ends up meaning, if anything. But we did get an interesting statement emailed to us from Kendall Qualls about half an hour ago at this point, basically congratulating Lisa Damoth. We'll see what that means, if it means anything, but it certainly hasn't been called yet. Lisa Damoth with 100,127 votes counted so far. Mike Lindell, second place in that GOP primary. Again, 51% of the votes in so far. Mike Lindell with 73,142 of those votes. Kendall Qualls, who again sent an email basically congratulating Lisa Damoth at this point with just under 51,000 there, 20% of the counted votes so far going to Kendall Qualls. But again, that's where things are right now. Let's check in on 4A. It's one we're still waiting. Oh, okay. 4A has been called. Let's go ahead and get this full screen right now. Not full screen, but here we go. Here's the results from the State House District 4A, which I am going to ask our newsroom to please send out a push notification. You know what? I'm going to send, don't mind me, folks, asking the newsroom to inform everybody that District 4A has been decided. Erica Yanni, the projected winner of State House District 4A, defeating Moorhead Mayor Shelley Carlson. Erica Yanni with just over 2,800 votes, 65% of the counted votes. Shelley Carlson with just under 1,500. Erica Yanni grabbing that District 4A DFL primary victory. So District 4A. So again, don't mind me, folks. I'm just making sure that this information gets put on our website, valleynewslive.com. I'm not just a pretty face on the air. I am the digital content manager as well. District 4A called. Please post. Okay. So that is our local districts now have all been decided, I believe. Yes, that is the last one we needed out of Clay County here, District 4A, going to Erica Yanni with 65% of the 99% votes that have been counted so far. Erica Yanni with just over 2,800 votes to win that District 4A, or the projected nomination for District 4A. Now, back to our gubernatorial watch here. Another jump for Lisa Dameth in the numbers here. 55% of the votes in. Lisa Dameth with just over 108,000 votes. That's 44% of the votes counted so far for this GOP primary for governor of Minnesota. Mike Lindell with just under 80,000. Kendall Qualls with just over 50,000. Again, with 55% of the vote in. We should be getting close to a time here. Let's take a live look at the watch party for Lisa Dameth. I believe this. Nope, that's the wrong one. Nope, that was me. There we go. There we go. This is the watch party for Lisa Dameth as we await a race to be called here. Lisa Dameth with 108,000 votes, the only candidate in the GOP primary with more than 100,000 right now. 44% of the counted votes so far going to Lisa Dameth. Mike Lindell sitting in second place in that GOP primary with just under 80,000 votes there. So not too crazy of a gap, just under 30,000 votes there, but of the 55% of the votes in, the majority thus far going to Lisa Dameth. We got an email from Kendall Qualls, the current third place nominee in the GOP side of this gubernatorial primary, basically congratulating Lisa Dameth, but again, nothing has been called yet, so we'll see what happens here. Lisa Dameth is in, there she is. She's in the background of that crowd here. We're waiting to see what is happening with this gathering here. That's really, there's really two races that we've been covering through this live stream that we're waiting on. One is obviously this, the GOP primary for the gubernatorial race, but we do have an update in the U.S. Senate race. 72% of the votes are in. Peggy Flanagan with 334,000 of those votes. That's over 100,000 more votes than Angie Craig right now. So that one could be getting very interesting as well. More of a crowd continues to gather around Lisa Dameth. We're going to go ahead and go back to our election results tab on valleynewslive.com with where things stand so far. Again, Peggy Flanagan with 58% of the counted votes for this U.S. Senate seat, former lieutenant governor who very recently served under Tim Walz. Lisa Dameth now at 68%. It's looking more and more like they're about to call this GOP primary for governor. Again, I am seeing some reports that she has been declared the winner, but I have not. We haven't gotten any confirmation on that here yet. So once that confirmation comes in through this results tab, then we will go ahead and call it official, and then we will go to a live look at Lisa Dameth's watch party. But for now, this is where things stand. Lisa Dameth with, oh, there we go. As I said it, the check mark turned yellow. Let's go to Lisa Dameth's watch party now. Let's take a look. We have a projected winner for the GOP primary, and that is Lisa Dameth. Again, I keep pulling up the wrong feed there. There we go. Lisa Dameth being declared the projected winner with 136,000 votes. That's 45% of the votes casted so far going to Lisa Dameth. Mike Lindell right now at just over 93,500. Kendall Qualls at about 64.6 thousand. Lost our live feed for a minute, but we got it going again. Okay, so now we know who is going to go toe-to-toe for the Minnesota governor spot in November. It's going to be between Lisa Damuth and Amy Klobuchar in November, as Lisa Damuth is projected to win the GOP primary for governor of Minnesota. We're now up to, and real quickly before we go to Lisa Damuth's watch party in full here, we do have a little bit of an update on the U.S. Senate race. 78% of the votes now in. Peggy Flanagan still with over 100,000 vote lead on Angie Craig. Thank you for watching. I got to thank you for the coverage in the comments. I appreciate you for watching. Okay, so now it's a much clearer picture. Oh, and it has just been called on our results tab. Peggy Flanagan, the projected winner in the DFL election for or the DFL primary for U.S. Senate, with 58% of the votes in so far. Peggy Flanagan outlasting Angie Craig. We knew it was going to be between those two. Peggy Flanagan with about 79.9% of the votes in. Peggy Flanagan with 338,753. Angie Craig at 228,880. So we have a field set for November for U.S. Senate and Governor of Minnesota. The Senate race is going to, the election for U.S. Senator is going to be between Peggy Flanagan and Michelle Tafoya, while the governor race is going to be between Lisa Damuth and Amy Klobuchar. And that's who we see right now celebrating is Lisa Damuth as she gets ready to take the stage, I believe, for this GOP primary. Which if she starts giving a speech, we are going to take that full, and then we are going to wrap this up. I wish I had. I don't have a live feed with any Peggy Flanagan elements. I do have a view from an Angie Craig event, but I don't think that's one that we're going to take right now. What's this? Oh, here. We have some remarks from the GOP primary winner, Lisa Damuth. Let's take this live.
The AP called it, and I think CBS just called it as well. So,
that's always those really strange steps where we see it and you can't report it, and we need it. Yes, yes. Fully understand. Are you guys leaving? Did we get a picture, all of us?
yeah, we should. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Excuse me.
Obviously wasn't quite ready for that yet. We'll go to Lisa Damuth's remarks here after winning the GOP primary for governor of Minnesota, outlasting Mike Lindell and Kendall Qualls there. Sorry, I'm just making sure the newsroom is set as well here. Hope you guys don't mind a little bit of typing ASMR once again. All right, just making sure we're getting all set here. So we're going to recap the winners here. As soon as I have things set with the newsroom. Don't mind me, folks, doing other stuff. Okay, we have that ready to go. All right, so let's recap the winners here for the we'll go with the statewide elections first, and then we'll go ahead and go with our more local ones. We're going to go ahead and start with the gubernatorial primaries. The GOP primary just recently called for Lisa Demuth, over 140,000 votes there. Mike Lindell with 98,000 votes right now. That's 72% of the votes counted so far. She's going to go up against Amy Klobuchar in November, who won the DFL primary. She won back when there was only 11,000 votes in. And so we will, it's going to be a matchup between those two in November, most likely. For state Senate, or U.S. Senate, I should say, Peggy Flanagan with that one was just recently called as well. She has 58% of the votes that are in so far. 80,000 or 80% of those votes counted. Okay, it looks like Lisa Demuth is going to go ahead and deliver some remarks now. So we will go to that here in full screen as soon as I'm sure she's ready. Her press folks making sure that she is ready to go. Okay. Sorry, don't mind me, folks. Once again, I'm still just making sure that I have all of my things set here. Okay, let's go full to Lisa Demuth as she delivers remarks after winning the GOP primary.
This is fun. Okay.
Does it feel different than when you're speaking? Like, does it feel different to be doing this? Do you still feel like I'm leading the people, like saying, I don't know.
I think it's being sworn in as speaker because we had so much chaos getting started. It was just so crazy that it was exciting, but there was so much that came with it. This just feels like the opportunity to really help really move our state forward in a way that, as speaker, there were more limitations. This sets the trajectory at least for the next 4 years. So, no, that was really good. Okay.
Okay. Well, now that it's official, how are you feeling in this?
I'm feeling really good. I think this is a great opportunity. What we saw in the voter turnout and them coming in and me getting the nomination as far as the votes and winning the primary, this is our opportunity to really move Minnesota forward, and I'm excited about that. That is what we saw. We saw the AP numbers come through. I know that's what you need to make it official, but that's what we saw come through.
Did you expect that margin to be this large? I think it was about a 40,000 vote difference.
You know, I haven't looked at all of the numbers. I didn't know where voters would be at or what the turnout was actually going to be, but I'm pleased to see that it is decisive and people know they made a decisive decision for me.
What's your message to Minnesota?
Minnesota, again, this is Minnesota's comeback. This is our opportunity to turn our state around finally, get us back on the right track, make us stronger and better, ending the fraud, accountability that starts at the very top, choosing to have commissioners that are going to be accountable and work hard for the people of Minnesota and make sure that we are stronger.
Is it historic in some way that you will be facing U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar in the midterm and the fall?
I do believe that is historic, but what I will say is Senator Klobuchar, when we were looking, just look at her record and look at where Minnesota is right now. The New York Times called the fraud that took place in here, historic fraud, brazen. That is not what Minnesota should be. You looked at a quality Leering Center because of the fraud that took place, and we're being laughed at by other places in the country. That is not where we should be. So I look forward to going head to head. Hopefully there will be a number of debates upcoming with Senator Klobuchar so Minnesotans can really see the vast difference between what I will do as the next governor and where she is at on a number of things.
How excited are you to just go home tonight?
The work doesn't stop. And as I mentioned earlier, we're 11 weeks and 6 days from the November 3rd election, and that work doesn't stop. I'm grateful, though, that I could build on it all the way from when I first entered the race in November. I'm just building on those same things, ending fraud, lowering taxes, improving education. That's what Minnesotans want.
You said that somebody called 50,000 people.
53,000 people were called by one of our grassroots volunteer. She started with us right away in November, and she has continued all the way on. We've had a large group of volunteers, but that was just one in particular. That is how motivated people were to join as volunteers the Dameth Wilson ticket and then really educate Minnesotans on the opportunity to change things.
Do you think that's part of what pushed you?
Absolutely. I mean, people want to be heard. I was up in Grand Rapids for a parade a week ago, and it was amazing as we were going through. People were saying, we can't believe that you as a candidate came all the way up to Grand Rapids. And I thought, why wouldn't I do that? Because every bit of the state is very unique, but it also matters very much.
This is my last question. Are you confident that you'll have the backing of the Minnesota GOP now that you have claimed victory in the primary? And do you hope that President Trump will also give you his endorsement?
You know, I think this is our opportunity to really pull the state together as far as Republicans, independents that are looking, and maybe Democrats that have been disenfranchised. I have heard already from the state party chair looking at those early numbers, and I look forward to unifying the state party.
And President Trump?
You know, you never know how that is going to go, but I've been able to appreciate the things that President Trump has done as far as securing our borders and putting in additional requirements for people that are receiving SNAP and other benefits, making sure that people that are able-bodied and can work do so that those dollars that we have available, even at a state level, can go to those that need it the most.
Defeating the candidate that got an endorsement from President Trump, that's going to be a feather in your cap. How do you go forward with that?
You know, my understanding when that endorsement came through is that it was definitely a friend-to-friend type endorsement. And so I have not had any conversations with President Trump. I've never had that ability. But I did offer a prayer at his St. Cloud, Minnesota rally in 2024. I did the prayer of invocation. But I don't know. I think this is just Minnesotans, voters in Minnesota sent a clear message tonight that they want to move forward, and I am their choice. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I don't know whose these are. But
there we go. First word from GOP primary winner Lisa Dameth for governor of Minnesota. And we will see her in November when she goes up against Amy Klobuchar, like she mentioned during that interview, an historic election on tap for November. It's been quite the event here. Thank you all so much for staying tuned with us here at on Valley News Now for a 3.5-hour live stream for primary election coverage. You love to see it. We're going to recap the winners for the statewide elections we were covering, as well as the ones that are affecting our viewing area, before we go ahead and close things out here. So again, this is our elections tab, valleynewslive.com. We're almost done. Thank you all on Facebook, TikTok, our live stream on your smart TV or on your computer, laptop, phone, wherever you've been watching us. We truly appreciate you making time for me. Hi, Bobby.
Hi, Devin.
What's up, man?
I wasn't sure if you were done.
No, not quite yet. Here, hold on. I got to fix this shot, and then I can bring you in. Hold on. Don't come in yet. Wait. I'm standing now because I'm standing now because my legs went numb. Oh, I accidentally pulled up your shot full. Don't mind.
Perfect.
Anyway.
Well, hopefully I'm also saying hello to some of the VNN viewers returning into town. I made sure to let them know that you were still going to be live, doing your thing, covering
all of them,
single race that pretty much comes in.
Well, I'm glad you're here because we can talk about what we the winners that we had. But first, let's I haven't been in the newsroom. What's it been like back there as these flurry of results have been
very
coming in?
busy. We're also getting statements. One just came in 2 minutes ago from Lisa Dameth's team on winning the Republican gubernatorial primary, saying that they began their campaign 9 months ago, and they are just ready for a fresh start for the state of Minnesota. And also then right before we ended that 10 p.m. show, we clicked right back on the U.S. Senate, and we saw that check mark for Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan. So we know that it will be Flanagan against Michelle Tafoya. And Devin, about a couple hours ago, we were talking about, again, kind of going to that undecided poll again. When it comes to this now, if it was a lot more undecided voters still out there, this was one of the scenarios where it is the closest one when it comes to the points, about an 8.4% point difference. So we will really have to wait and see. And tonight, especially, how long we've been waiting to get these check marks, we might have an even busier night on November 3rd.
November 3rd is going to be quite the day. I might have to expand this to like 5 hours come that time. But no, so like you mentioned, Bobby, we have, we'll talk about the Senate first. Peggy Flanagan and Michelle Tafoya, like you mentioned, going head-to-head there. Peggy Flanagan outlasting Angie Craig, kind of pulling away there as more results started coming in. But then Michelle Tafoya, they called that race hours ago.
Yes.
So Michelle Tafoya taking the GOP nomination
Still
there.
always staying above that 50% threshold. She was flirting 51.5 to now it's about 53. So definitely holding her ground, holding her own.
Right. For the GOP primary on both sides, and they talked about a little bit in the live interview that we just had with Lisa Damoth. It's not potentially, it's an historic election coming up in November now between Amy Klobuchar and Lisa Damoth. It's a pretty cool history-making moment. Lisa Damoth wasting no time laying out in that live interview, laying out the exact same campaign promises that she's had all through this. You got to wonder, though, they also touched on the Trump endorsement with Mike Lindell. She said that was probably a friend-to-friend thing, so she didn't read too much into that.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens now as the November election comes up. But Amy Klobuchar and Lisa Damoth winning there. We're going to take a look at some local ones while I still have you here, Bobby, just so I don't have to talk alone again. I've been so lonely back here. Duke left me a while ago. I'm taking a look at District 4A. Erica Yoni with a big win in District 4A over Moorhead Mayor Shelley Carlson. Now, what happens with the mayor spot? What does Shelley Carlson do? That's kind of what we have to watch out for here.
Yep.
Looking at what else was in our viewing. Oh, District 7, that's a big one as well. Obviously a representative for pretty much the entire west side of Minnesota. Obviously, Michelle Fischbach has that spot, but she will be challenged by Eric Osberg in November, who won the DFL primary in that race. 9B was another one that we had in our viewing area. This one for West Central Minnesota. Wow, I don't know why this happens so much. This one for West Central Minnesota. That's Otter Tail County and parts of Douglas County as well. Tom Murphy getting the GOP nod there. I believe he was the incumbent in that race as well. I only have a couple more here. We'll burn through these quickly, and then we'll go ahead and close things out for the night. District 8, we had races on both sides. DFL primary won by Trina Swanson, which I saw we got a statement sent that way. Another DFL sending out releases for pretty much every victory that they got tonight. And then Pete Stauber, the incumbent, winning the GOP primary for District 8 as well. District 5, which, this one's still... you're gonna have to wait till Valley Today to learn what happened in this one. But the GOP primary, this one for Wadena County, Todd County, Cass County, Minnesota, that area. Paul Utke and Mike Weiner. Less than 100 votes between the two of them, with 42% of the votes in. I was in Walker, Minnesota this past weekend, which is in Cass County. A lot of signs for both of them. So a hotly counted primary there on the GOP side.
Could this be one as well if it is very, very close, where we see maybe one of the very few recounts that get called?
Maybe a runoff. Let's see.
We'll
never
see.
know. And then the last one I want to touch on is the GOP primary for State House 6B, which, again, fringe part of our viewing area, but it's the Crow Wing County area. Josh Heintzman, the incumbent, winning that one there, 99% of the vote in. Pretty dominant effort there for Josh Heintzman. So that is going to put a bow on it. Bobby, thank you so much for coming in, for giving me somebody to talk to mostly. I have a lot of things to still do here before I go. But that's going to do it for the live stream portion of this. Thank you all so much for tuning in, for making us a part of your election night. We are appreciate. I'll take that. And so we are, thank you all for joining us in the chats on our Facebook channel, our YouTube stream, however you may, or YouTube, that is one of them, or our TikTok stream, smart TV, laptop, however you watch us. Thank you for making us, unless you took a break to watch Bobby at 10, which I understand. I'm not.
I pitched to you right after.
There you go.
So I was just the appetizer for the main course of all of this coverage, which was you.
My voice hurts. My voice is going.
We'll get you some more. We'll get you some more water.
We
will
water,
get Devin Fry
tea,
more
whatever.
water.
But no, thank you all so much again for tuning in. We'll see you in November for another big election. But for now, for this Valley News Now digital election special, thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm Devin Fry.